This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Planning and Zoning Commission for April the 7th, 2025. My name is Vern Carlson, and I am the chairman of the commission. We have a fairly large agenda tonight, more than we had in some time. But in any event, we'll get right into it here, and we'll get going. I'll introduce Andy Bellavacqua. He is our town engineer. And next to him is Alan Fredrickson, is our land use administrator. To my left is Katanya, she is our court reporter. And next to her is our staff secretary, which is Christine Knowlton. And with that, Maddie?
Carrie Maddie.
Okay.
Rod Williams, regular member. I believe I'll be acting as secretary tonight.
Paul Wyman, Vice Chairman.
Mark Parisi.
And Mark will be sitting in for Alan, for Brian Cummings tonight. He's an alternate. And Carrie will be sitting in for Ken Quick, who is not here tonight. So, with that being said, our secretary tonight will be Rod Williams. And we get started in the very beginning here. Alan, do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do, in fact, items number 3 and 4, P2503 and P2503A pertaining to 400 Sackett Point Road have been postponed. So they'll be heard, hopefully, next month.
Okay. If anybody's here for 400 Sackett Point, we'll not be hearing it. Anything else?
No, I believe that's it. It goes as printed after that, yes.
Okay, very good. Well, we get started with our first application here. We have a referral here. Rod, would you read that in, please?
Yes, under 824 referrals, the first item is number P25-08, application of the town of North Haven on behalf of the North Haven Girls Softball League, requesting permission to install 2 scoreboards on the athletic fields at 86 Bassett Road.
Okay, is there someone here to represent that?
Yeah.
Want to step forward?
How you doing?
Okay,
And it's 88 Bassett Road.
okay. Would you give us your name
Michael Fiscatelli.
and your address?
My address is 22 Laura Lane, North Haven.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. It's all yours.
Hi. So we wanted to install 2 scoreboards up at the Gateway Complex. We wanted to make some improvements for the girls. Max Sinoway made a bunch of great improvements for the boys. So I just recently took over as president, so I'm doing as much as I can in my volunteer role to try to create some equity, make it feel equitable. So we think the scoreboards would be great for the representation for the town and be very exciting for the girls. So we'd like to put, do you want me to get into exactly what we want to do?
Sure.
We'd like to put one on field 3, that is our main field with the fence in center field, and we'd like to put one on field 7 to start, and then down the line, see how that goes. If it's possible for more, we will, but we thought with our 2 main fields, it'd be a good start for the girls. We've been making a lot of improvements down there, and this would be very important to the girls and to our league. So I'd like to just request permission to do so.
So tell me, how large are these scoreboards you're gonna put up?
I'm sorry, I don't have the paper, but I put the dimensions
It's
on there. I think they're 8 feet by 4 feet or so.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sure
8
enough,
feet.
I don't
We
have it.
already purchased 2 of them, and then it kind of got caught up, so I said, I just took over the lead to try to get this done. We're trying to do it last fall, it just never happened.
Mike, how many fields do you have? Do you have 7?
There's 7 fields, yes. Field 1 is for the men's softball, so we don't touch that at all. But the other 6 fields we do use, and we share with Max Sinoway when they are short fields.
Okay.
The
How
men's
many-
field has a scoreboard, right?
What's that?
Doesn't the men's field have a scoreboard?
And honestly, I haven't been over there in like 20-something years. I don't think they do though.
Okay, I might be,
They have lights, so 1, the men's field, and 3 have lights. But I don't think they have a scoreboard.
okay.
So will this be illuminated, or how do they change the score?
Yes, so you can do a Bluetooth from the app on your phone, and there's a
Okay.
manual remote, that you can do it from.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah, they're both, Bluetooth, capabilities.
So, just let me ask you, where's the material coming from for this? You raised the- you
We're
raised the money?
purchasing all the material.
Oh, you guys are?
Yeah, the only thing, we asked the town, I talked to Public Works, if it gets passed, if they could just help us out with the digging. We'll have the licensed electrician doing all the work. We're buying all the material. We just asked the town if they could do the digging. They were very happy to help us out.
Sure enough, that's good.
I've got 'em.
Mark?
I'm good.
Rod?
So when you look at the aerial view of this on like Google Maps or Apple Maps or one of these things, it shows like a football field I think in the outfield for 7 where the scoreboard would be, but my son used to practice over there, softball or baseball, and they never played football. That's not your understanding that they use that as a football field, right?
You know, honestly, what it is, so in the fall, they have nowhere to put the, flag football.
Okay.
So we let them, we let them use 5 and 6 in the back, and that's where they make like a little bit of a smaller field, and they play their flag football games there.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
So you'd have 4 other fields that would not have a scoreboard.
Correct, so we would have to fundraise again. In the future, so my goal is to try to do 2 every year. We also want to be realistic, like where I place them is pretty close to where the electrical is. So like in 7, ideally I'd like it in center field, but I put it like in right field because there is power right there. So we're just trying to make it as feasible as possible.
Okay.
And so my goal as the president is to try to do 2 every year if fundraising allows.
Very good.
Does it make sense to add on to this particular request and to request permission over the course of the next 2 years to do all 6 fields? If you're inclined to approve it, you don't know who'll be the president of the league, how long the term is, but I don't know if it makes sense to do that. It's
Yeah.
kind of a borderline thing in terms of substantially improving the field to kick in the 824, to put a scoreboard up, but
The only thing I
So-
wonder
so-
about is if there needs to be trenching to run the electrical out to those other fields.
I'm sure there
Yeah.
would be a need
Well, that's all
for
I mean.
it, but that'd
Yeah.
be part and parcel to the approval.
Yeah.
to-
You're going to building in respect to this, aren't you?
Correct.
Yeah. I think that's okay, yeah. Okay.
How about foundation for the scoreboards? How does that work? How are they mounted, I guess would be my question.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna, when they dig, we're gonna put them on the metal poles. A lot of towns use the, electrical, like, poles like from the street, they cut them in half and do that. So I was just gonna talk to the town and see what they prefer me to do.
Okay.
So either that or the metal poles do look better, and then we're gonna cement them in.
Okay.
But we wanna get them raised off the ground to
Oh, yeah.
the bottom of the scoreboard, at least 8 feet, just because we're worried about vandalism. They're low, anybody could just go there and vandalize our $5,000 scoreboards, and they'll be wrecked in 2 seconds.
Yeah. All right, I'll work with the building department when that comes in. I just want to make sure they're supported properly.
Oh,
'cause
yeah, that's
a
it.
good wind come along and
Yeah.
you got no scoreboard anymore, so.
Definitely, thank you.
Okay, you guys good? Yeah. Everybody good? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for good hard work.
Thank you for hearing me.
Okay, that being done, next one we get down to is P 25-02, which is Powdered Metal Drive. Would you read that in?
Yes, site plan application of PMD Investments LLC, applicant and owner relative to 101 Powdered Metal Drive, map 37, lot 124. Plan entitled Site Improvements 101 Powdered Metals Drive, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Godfrey Hoffman Hodge LLC, dated 1/8/2025, revised 2/7/2025, scale equals 1 inch to 30 feet, IL 80 zoning district.
Whereabouts you gonna have parking? I mean, everyday parking.
Showed it.
Just-
Showed it on the side.
Okay, go ahead, give it a presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
No, you don't need that, just sit right down, they're the one to pick it up with the tape.
Perfect. I'm John Gavin, the owner of 101 Powder Mill Drive LLC.
I'm Marcus Putter, professional engineer and land surveyor from Godfrey Huffman Todd, address 26 Broadway, North Haven. My last name is spelled P-U-T-T-O-C-K. Good evening. We're here before you to, this is a renovation of an existing site. This site had a building on it with a lot of abandoned cars and all kinds of trash and
That's it.
whatnot, as you
Yeah.
can see in the second and third page of the photos that were just handed out. And so the new owner has cleaned it all up. They've done some paving and added some millings to the site around the back, and they'd like to mill the side yards on each side of the building now and make those hard surfaces, add a little bit of drainage for this existing side to the east. Add a fence, there is a fence along the back and the west side as it is. They're going to add a fence across a portion of it and put a gate. And then along the back, add a fence and put a gate so that that storage area is a little bit more secure. And those are the major
Where's the parking?
the parking is along the side. Most of it is existing bituminous asphalt, and a portion of it is rolled millings. We propose adding an island, and delineating those spaces. We have some concrete barriers along the top of the bank, that the Wetland Commission has asked us to move back to the 50-foot wetland line, so they'll be moved over just a hair from where they're shown on the map as it is today. And we've agreed to do so and put in the wetland, delineation placards that are requested, so that folks know that at the top of that, at the bottom of that slope, there's a wetland and it's not to be disturbed. That's the crux of our proposal. We did review the comments and recommendations. We agreed with 1A, adding the application numbers, that's fine. I'm not sure that we have any variances, I'm not sure, Alan, maybe you can speak to what the variances?
There's a variance for the front yard variance to cut it down a little bit.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm sure you have no problem with putting the note on it.
Sure, I didn't realize there was a variance for that, so we certainly can add that. We'd be happy to revise the parking calculation to include the 2,000 or so square feet of office space that's in there. We do not believe, we would request that you not require sidewalks across the front of this. This is a very industrial area. There's no sidewalks installed when the self-storage across the street just a couple of years ago was installed. And there is nowhere for those sidewalks to go to. And no reason anybody from the public would be down there to walk on them. We believe that the parking surfaces are all a hard impervious surface, and as we delineated them, I guess we would request that number E be removed. There are no proposed lights at this time. The lighting that is existing on the building is to remain, and we are not proposing any new lights. Where the standard soil erosion sediment control comments are agreeable, the fence is agreeable, as-built and bond are all agreeable. The comments from Andy regarding the sanitary sewer, that's not connected to the building at this time.
Oh, it's not.
Those were installed but never connected to the building. I'm
Okay.
not sure, at some point, we probably would like to
Yeah.
connect the building, but obviously we would have to.
I just love to know where they
install-
go, because I have no
Agreed.
records of them, you know?
Agreed.
I've spent days looking for.
Have you really?
I put a hose in the first manhole myself, popped the cover and street, and it comes up huge.
Okay.
Somebody must have the dream of putting it in, nobody ever, 1978, and it's on septic now, we love the tank,
Yeah.
so we're at least getting a chance to do it.
Okay.
Then it refers to the comments that Andy made with the Inland Wetlands Commission, or for the Inland Wetlands Commission. We went over those with the Inland Wetland Commission, and we believe that their approval will have all of those conditions within it, and we will certainly comply with their conditions of approval.
Okay. How big is the office areas?
2,200 of the 25,000 square foot.
Okay, so it's relatively small.
Very small.
Yeah. So what do you expect for employees in the office?
We just signed a lease, there's the people that are now, it's signed a 10-year lease to do basement water. So it's a national company, and it's mostly road service guys.
Oh, I see, okay.
So I don't think it's gonna be,
All right.
maybe minimal office.
Yep, it will be minimal on that, okay. That's it. Paul?
You said no lights, so you're not gonna put any lights in the parking lot?
Just whatever you see in that picture.
Okay.
Just whatever's existing is, they're happy with, so.
And,
Mark?
I have no comments right now.
Okay.
what about all the vehicles you're showing back, those are gone, or,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all been
Okay.
cleaned up.
that's good?
The site is clean.
That was- Yeah, and that was part of the wetlands
It was my
requirement.
idea, it was
okay.
my idea with barriers. The previous guy seemed like a.
Sure. Okay. Right.
That's where we go with the edge.
The first picture there, these white, are those catch basins, those white things in the parking
Yeah.
lot?
Yes.
As far as the exterior, the outdoor storage is concerned, is that a part of the use, the tenant that will be in the building? So what is it that they would store? Is it principally vehicles, or is it more?
They have service vehicles, they have whatever you use. They have piping, they have, whatever you do for water.
Yeah, so we listed on the map, storage of steel products, flatbed trailers, some skid steers, and some excavators. So those types of materials.
So that tenant has been there for a while at this point?
3.5 weeks.
Oh, okay.
We just got the building finished.
Okay.
Andy? You got any questions on this?
I mean, I guess one question would be, as far as off-site storage, you're only talking about that back corner, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
This area, and that's the only fenced in.
Okay, so the storage could be pretty much anywhere on the
Yes,
site then?
on the
Okay,
asphalt,
all right.
yeah, on the-
Yeah, and the only other part was just the paving around those parking spaces.
Yep. Okay, just around them.
Yeah, I mean, the commission is, for at least as long as I've been here, for active parking spaces, active areas where, vehicles are gonna be moving in and out on a regular basis. We've always asked to have those areas paved, and,
Okay. How large an area is that? We're gonna be.
it's only a few parking spaces, only like 2 or 3 parking
Okay.
spaces.
That's what I was trying to
And
ask
then
you before.
the little
John,
driveway behind
is-
it, it's not a big area.
Keep that minimal. Alan?
So Andy, I understand the situation with I'll call it the 3 parking spaces, okay. As far as the rest of the area, you don't have any particular issues for that?
No.
To be millings? And we talked during wetlands, it's not gravel per se,
Not gravel,
it's millings.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be rolled and become hard as asphalt. Yeah, it'll be a hard, all-weather surface.
And Marcus, that was new catch basin and storage you put in the, here, that was not on the wetlands plan, was it?
It was not.
Okay.
It was talked about at the wetland.
Right,
review
right.
and whatnot, but their original plan did
Okay, that's kind of to address some of the
Yes, to
stormwater.
address some of those
Perfect.
comments,
Okay,
yeah.
beautiful.
Just-
Yeah,
Good.
we're good, yeah.
Rod?
I have kind of a stupid question, but can you describe what millings are? There's not a couple
When
things
they
tonight.
regrind a road.
Yeah, the
they take
part
it
that
out
they
into
take
tube,
out?
that produces the millings.
Okay, and then that's just laid out?
Ground, yeah, it's just ground up asphalt.
Ground it back. We use it in our yards.
Yep.
and
Got it.
It's basically poor man's pavement, but after you roll on it, it's, in the summertime, it's.
That's what I thought. All right, thanks for confirming that.
Well, they do come, some come a little rougher than others, and you get it down to a very fine milling.
These would be 100% screened.
Yeah, right, okay. Gary? You good? Okay. John?
The tenant is gonna occupy the whole building?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also, I put in my comments, there's a lingering change of use that you folks had approved some years back for a soccer training facility in there. It was about 2,000 square feet. So we just want to get that out of there and get the building back to office warehouse, which is
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
a more usable label, if you will. So
Okay.
you don't get too many soccer training facility
I'm not gonna bite at this one.
tenants, you know, it's not that kind of thing.
That's too bad.
You guys are good?
Yes.
I'm good. Everybody good? Okay, thank you very much. Closes this one. Okay, Rod, would you go over to, P2504?
P2504, site plan application of GOGAK in all caps, Limited Liability Company. Applicant and owner relative to 275 Valley Service Road, map 73, lot 131, plan entitled compilation plan showing property of GOJAK Limited Liability Company, number 275 Valley Service Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Bascom and Benjamin LLC, dated 20th February 2025, scale 1 inch equals 80 feet, IL 80 zoning district. Did I say that? Is it GOJAK?
Gogak.
GOGAK, sorry.
My name is Stephen Skoltedy from Baskin Benjamin. I'm the licensed principal. Skultety. I'm here with Sean Cassidy, the applicant and owner tonight. The property is in the IL 80 zone. We went through wetlands a few weeks ago. This is the driving range that's out there on Valley Service Road. We have one large metal building and a small block building currently. There's a paved area now that they're teeing off of mats, and then there's a grass area here that gets teed off of. And what we're proposing to do is to cover the areas now on both sides of a proposed 20 by 30 building. Everything is on slab. These are just roofs. It's open air all around, and they're going to continue to dry it out in the same way. We received a few comments in reference to this, and I guess we're here tonight to talk to the commission about mainly the parking lot. Some of the comments were directed towards a proposed parking lot. We showed the spaces on here just to demonstrate how many vehicles could be on the existing gravel parking lot. We're currently not proposing anything in this area here. The use isn't changing by much, so we didn't propose any additional pavement or anything in the parking area. It's
Yeah,
just
you want-
continue to be gravel.
Yeah, excuse me. You're talking about gravel?
It's
What-
gravel.
It's gravel?
It's gravel.
Okay. And whereabouts you plan to use gravel?
So this whole area here is gravel. We're not adding anything to it. It's an existing gravel parking lot. This
There
whole
already.
area here
Mm-hmm.
is all gravel. And we propose some spaces just to account for what the use is in this portion of the gravel parking lot. And there's obviously a lot of room for expansion.
And you propose to leave it that way?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, same thing we
Not
talked
yet,
about just
not
to.
yet, not
Okay,
yet.
all right, all right.
Oh, Okay, how many driving pads do you have there? How many people can play golf or drive or whatever do you do there at one time?
Yeah, so it could be, if you look at the old drawings, it could be up to 32. The proposal here is up for 22 covered tees. And, you know, obviously we're limited on linear footage there, but it would never be more than 32. This proposal here is to have up to 22 of them covered. That's the goal.
Okay.
Sean Castle, CASSIDY.
Okay, Paul?
Andy, did you look at the, I know the wetlands looked at this, and that whole back area floods. Was there anything gonna be anything gonna be done back there?
No, they're-
Not much you could do once that.
Right, all of their construction is outside the floodplain. So it's close, it's right up to the edge, but it's outside the floodplain.
I know that boat out there floats sometimes.
It does, it does.
When the river rises.
But, you know, but there's no issues with using it as a driving range in a floodplain.
Yeah, okay,
Wetlands for that matter, I would imagine, but, you know.
okay.
So, in the sort of the middle of the new driving range covered thing, there's looks like a service desk or something. Is that where people are gonna come get their balls and do the transactions and not in that building?
That's exactly right, so it's great if they can come out there, look at getting a ball dispenser, you know, somebody can grab the balls there, pay their fee, do whatever they need for renting clubs, they'll be out there as well, that's the goal.
Okay, and then the building is just not gonna be, it won't be related to that activity?
Yeah, so the building is used for public safety testing, firefighters, that kind of stuff.
All right, and I noticed the go-kart track there, looks like an oval, but that's not the way it used to be. Did it change, or is that just not
Go on, isn't it?
totally?
It did change, so
Okay.
it did change, so that's now used for a running track.
Gotcha, okay, oh, interesting, thanks.
Karen?
That was my question too.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
That was your question? About the running track?
It was, yeah.
Is that walking one, that's gonna be pavement? Or you-
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I have no comments right now. A little concerned on the parking area, but
For a couple of issues, Mr. Gavin was here regarding 101 powdered metals, and the question is, I think there's some discretion that the commission would have over outdoor storage type installations. Required parking is supposed to be bituminous, which is called out in the, in the regs.
I understand. We're getting to that.
That's, okay, you've got to iron that out somehow.
Yep.
And and I don't know what the required parking, per se would be. My suspicion is it would not be that entire lot. So that's one issue. But not really sure exactly what it would be. The other issue really predated Sean as the owner. We got some outdoor storage and got an encroachment. There's some sort of wood deck out there that Sean didn't build. He inherited. That's there. I hate to. You can deal with a nonconformity. You can't deal with an encroachment, per se. You can't approve something on someone else's property. I'm concerned that de facto you might be doing that if that is shown on the plan, in that way. If they show a couple of containers that are there, this would be an approval of that outdoor storage. I'll ask you, Sean, do you use those, there's a trailer, a container, and another container anyway?
Yeah, so there was 5 containers there, 2 of them that have been removed. Certainly those containers, they are used, they're used to store the stuff during the winter, that helps support the driving range, the mower, tractors, the aerators, everything that goes into, having a driving range. So they are used for that. Not give those up.
Good evening. May I have your attention, please? The North Haven Library will be closing in 30 minutes. Public computers, copiers, and Wi-Fi will be shutting down in 15 minutes. All purchases for the bookstore and cafe, along with library card applications, must be completed by 7:45. Thank you.
So the answer to the question, I mean, those could be slid over a little bit, if that's what you're looking for, Alan. If you give them up, he's gonna be, he'll be in a position, I mean, they're gonna be stored outside of him.
And whatever that wood structure is, I gather, you don't care a lick about that,
Well,
I assume, or,
No, I think probably, you know, there's a lot of that property right on the line. I mean, there's a right of way where the neighboring property uses to cross across our property. My assumption on all of that, you know, wasn't done under the cover of darkness. I believe it was probably something going back 50 years ago. That's what we're talking about here, when the property was first developed. So, the company that owns it is out of New York. Spoke with them several times. Certainly, they know how to get in touch with me if they want that removed. I think that can be done. I'm just not sure it's a concern of theirs.
You know, this is a propane tank too. I assume that feeds the building and
It does.
fires the building
Yep.
up. Yeah.
I guess the survey, I mean, you don't really know, you know, you don't need a survey to install it, and then the surveyor goes out and,
Right.
my, what a surprise, there it
Yeah,
is,
was
it's
interesting
over on the
to
wrong
survey
side.
that line to find out where it was based on the research. I couldn't find any formal agreements, but it does seem like there were some shared use between that property and the property to the north. Definitely the access when they were running it as a gravel pit back when they were. So I don't know, you know, what any of those conversations were back then.
It's interesting, I got a copy of a plan from Olsham, because we're talking about all the property that they own over there. And the survey map that they sent me shows those same encroachments.
Very close,
So,
it does.
yeah.
Yeah, whether that can be a boundary line of agreement or a private, you know, agreement to move that property line, I don't know what the easiest course of action is moving forward and the infrastructure.
There's a pile of, I'll say, wood debris that's there that looks more recent, I don't know where that came out of.
So that was all part of the mini golf. So I pulled that away from the building because it was providing residency for things you don't want to run the building. So that's all we go into the dumpster, which is out that.
So what's your plans for that trailer sign that's there, been there since probably the 60s?
Well, same thing, I hate to give it up. I think it's the only billboard in town. It's still standing.
Well, but hold it. Don't
call it.
make me crazy, okay, for a second here. It's not a billboard, it's just a large sign.
It's a large sign.
A billboard advertises something that is off the property,
Right.
and you're only advertising your particular use
That is correct.
on that, so.
On-premises sign,
Correct, and again, Sean has put up a sign, or I guess, where there was another sign of equal size, and maybe just modified it or what have you, but I think at first you didn't even change it, did you?
No, it's just temporary. It's a vinyl sign just to
Yep.
stick something up there so people know where
But
we are.
it'll remain on that trailer there.
No, I haven't put, that is still standing. Yeah, so hopefully it'll be used.
I noticed another sign, like when you're going to get on 91, coming from, when you're headed north off of 22. There's another sign there that you put up.
Those are not legal signs. You didn't put them up. I know that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, any signs that you put up, it would have to meet the requirements of the town, actually. They're supposed to, anyway.
Yeah. Alan, are you good with what you were talking about?
I think there's some things that you're gonna have to wade through in the deliberations, and if you have any questions or what have you, fire away, so.
Okay.
But apart from that, I've said what I need to say, I think, so.
Well, I think what you said about bituminous concrete is something that's gonna be difficult, right? Because I'm just reading the reg, and if I'm reading it correctly, you need 3 inches of bituminous concrete over 8-inch subbase, is that right, for any
Yeah, that's
parking
right.
area?
That's
And that
exactly
says that,
right.
so it's, almost sounds like a variance more than something we can do, right? Or, I mean,
exactly it. It's like islands, landscape islands, they're required, you can't waive them. You can waive the sidewalks.
Right.
And in this instance, again, you folks look at two things, the need for the sidewalks and whether or not
You want to wait?
the expense of the sidewalks is commensurate with the work being done in the application. Not trying to make a case in particular, but just to offer up, there's no new building per se. The new building is a shack, a caddy shack, so to speak, and a few roofs over the tees. So I think the argument that would be made is that it's not commensurate. But right, Rod, I don't know what you do as far as the paving issue, and I guess what I would tend to do is if Sean's not ready to do it, you know, potentially it's something that sort of gets proposed on the plan, and you know, we can,
Well,
if there's a phase-in or something with that, I don't know, or something that's bonded somehow, and
So what, I just want to be clear, what are we here talking about tonight? Because before we came, I thought it was just really the covered tees, and the parking lot was not like part of it, but are we taking advantage of being here to see if it's possible, or?
I'm not trying to take advantage of anything.
No, I mean, I don't,
propose
that's
this-
not what I mean. I mean, like, kill two birds
I-
with one
we
stone.
proposed a golf thing, and on Friday, we had the conditions. So, you know, if the goal is, and again, I haven't read all the regulation, if the goal is accessibility for folks who are handicapped, I'm not opposed to putting in, you know, a number of spaces, paved spaces for that. It makes sense. If what's coming down the chain is to pave the whole parking lot, I can tell you, it'll remain gravel. There's no way it can be done. It just can't, you know. I sell buckets of balls at $10 a pop.
Well, what are we looking at here tonight? You know, Rod brings up, because I thought we were looking at just that portion of it.
Well, it's the covered area.
I think we were, but the thing. it
Because
came up-
it's on the plan.
Yes, it's part of the
No, I
site
know,
plan,
it's just
so.
something-
Well, and you also have to
Do you wanna
provide
do that?
parking for the use, right?
I'm sorry?
You also have to provide parking for the use,
But I
right?
don't see it, they're adding a use,
Yeah.
they're just.
Okay.
They're improving the use that's there, yeah.
But that was, I mean, that was existing parking for the old use too, right? That was
For the
gravel?
previous facility, yeah, they were parking there.
But it was gravel.
Always has been.
Yeah, yeah.
Always has been,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, when you go back quite a ways, I think it went in the mid-'80s, and to the best of my knowledge, they have not been in for a site plan approval since then. Sean just bought it in relative terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, so here he is, so now, as you always are, you're looking at the entire site plan. He's gonna end up with a stamp sign plan that shows the entirety of the property.
Approved.
This is what's being looked at, you know, at this point. But again, this commission has done a very good job over the years of sorting through existing conditions and new situations, and I think you're gonna have to do some magic once again.
Is this something you want to address, or do you want to just back up and take care of this?
No, I'm at the point where I think we spent enough time, so I mean, if you can approve it, fantastic. If you tell me you can't go forward, disappointing, but, you know, I want to spend more time on it. It's, you know, the property is what I bought, the way it stands. We created the whole map, as requested of town, if you want us just to show you what we're actually doing. In a separate map that just identifies the footprint of,
The changes.
well, you know, I mean, that's what we're talking about. This parking lot has existed for 50 years. It's supported 3 mini golfs, go-karts, driving range, batting cages, arcade, you know, for 50 years. So,
Okay, so I just want to understand everything that's going on there now. There's the driving range, there's the building that's used for safety, public safety training, and then there's a track that people, who uses that?
just run a police officer, people trying to become police officers.
Okay, so again, it's the same, this is a facility for police to do training. That and a driving range, those are the two things that are going on.
Yeah, and there was some, I think there was one of the conditions was whether or not there'd be enough, spaces to accommodate both. The reality is, public safety testing takes place in the morning, it's under my control. Driving range is busy in the evening.
You know, right here.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Concurrent use, that's probably not gonna happen.
Well, these things are gonna go.
Well, good for you.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear, Alan, the parking that's there now is enough for what's there, what they have at this point, right? And they're gonna put less driving areas in there. Can they just do like Sean was saying, the changes, and we approve the changes? Or do
Can we
have
get-
to-
can we get back to
without
that?
approving everything that's
Right. I don't think you
here
can.
right now?
Yeah, we're not proposing to bring the whole site into compliance.
Right.
There are
Or-
issues, we're just trying to.
Is that something that we could talk about in deliberation?
I think you'd need a rationalization for whatever your action would be.
Okay.
So if it would be that you've got existing to remain, if it would be that it's not commensurate, possibly there's some percentage of it, again, that you would get done. I'm serious, I don't know what the parking load would be there, but that looks like that parking lot is far larger than what
What you
you
need.
need. I don't know, I bet you he would use maybe a quarter of it.
On
You
your
know,
largest class day, so to speak, who do you think you have for attendees?
Well, the folks that are coming in for that, they're there for an hour and 15 minutes, 20 at a time.
Okay,
So.
that's what I was getting, we're not talking about 100 officers showing up at the same time.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to calculate because there's not people that, it's not an office building where you just calculate it based on the staff. You know, it's constantly people in and out, and these driving ranges almost have no calculation for what's required for parking, so it's just kind of, what works.
And that's the issue in your table in 8.5.1.6. You've got certain uses that are delineated, and certain things, such as Sean's uses, are to be determined by the commission. So there you are.
Okay, I think we can discuss this in deliberation.
Yeah, we'll do it. Okay. You got enough out of it?
Yeah.
Bob, you got enough? Joe, you got enough? Okay, all right. Okay, good enough. Thank you very much. And we'll talk about this a little bit later. Okay, Rob, would you read in the Sacker Point Road?
Sure. P2505, site plan application of Chris DeAngelis, PE LLC, applicant SKPT LLC, owner relative to 410 and 408 Sackett Point Road, maps 43, lots 1 and 2, plan entitled Proposed Car Lot Storage, property located at 408 and 410 Sackett Point Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Christian A. DeAngelis, P.E., dated 24th of February 2025, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, IG 80 zoning district.
My name is Chris DeAngelis, I'm a professional engineer. Do you need the spelling of my last name, or? All right. With me tonight is Marie DeAndrea. She is the owner, developer of 410 and 408 Sackett Point Road. These are industrial properties, the IG 80 zone district. 410 Sackett Point Road is approximately 11 and a half acres. And 408 is a little bit smaller, it's 2.25 acres. There's a variety of uses on the site. We were in front of you a couple of years ago. and we had approved at that time a solar panel installation on the 408 property. Just a little background, this is a large industrial property that Ms. DeAndrea had purchased from the Upjohn Company many, many years ago, or how many years ago, 10 years ago?
Good evening.
12
The
years
North
ago.
Haven Library will be closing in 15 minutes. Please begin to make your final selections and check out at the time. Thank you.
And Ms. DeAndrea has been working to develop the property. She's what I would consider an accidental developer. Her main occupation is running a company within that occupies a portion of one of the buildings. But she, as the owner, she's also her own landlord, and is looking to make creative use of the property. The 408 property had a building on it, building number 6, which has been demolished, but essentially the entire property was paved, and is still paved today. Although if you go out there, you would notice that you'd see kind of trees and weeds growing up through the pavement, which is very deteriorated. It's been abandoned for near 30 years since the building was occupied. So she's getting creative with her uses. Again, she was able to rent some of this space for a solar array company. And with that, she's provided a couple of EV charging stations for her tenants to use. And now she's talking to Kitty Cabs. They are a livery service for school-aged children, young school-aged children. They get shuttled back and forth from their home to their schooling during the day. They need a place to park their vehicles. Previously, I believe they were on Broad Street or Broadway, but they've lost that access to that facility, and now they're looking to rent space from her. So although it's a large property, what we're here in front of you tonight for is permission to use this kind of rear corner of the property, which again is just a vacant, deteriorated land. Repave it. It's got paving there already, but we're going to take it up, repave it, improve the grading so we can actually capture the stormwater. There was already a stormwater system on site, and as part of a previous project, we added a hydrodynamic separator at the very end of that stormwater system, so the water is captured and treated before it flows out to the Quinnipiac River. Infiltration is not an option on this site. The entire site is considered environmentally contaminated. So any work that we do, any digging that we do has to conform with these environmental land use restrictions that were put on the land which purchased the property. In this case, it's very simple because we're not doing any digging. All we're going to do is just build this parking lot up at the surface. There's already an existing catch basin in this area, and we're just going to leave that where it is, and we're going to lift up this parking lot. We're going to drain it all into that one basin. So essentially, we have no digging. It's at the rear of the property. It's fed by a private road. It's already paved. There's a gravel road that runs behind this building. We're going to pave this part of it just so this tenant can get in and out easily and safely and can make these plow it, that sort of stuff. It's absolutely an ideal use of this property for its location. So this is the more the detailed plan. We turn the north arrow 90 degrees. The parking lot itself is not a public parking lot. It's restricted, obviously, to the tenant. There's no way that anyone can get back there. The entire facility is gated off after hours. And because it's because it's not a public parking lot, we've made the parking spaces a little bit smaller. They're 17 feet deep, 8.5 feet wide, which we feel is appropriate for the use since it's the same person parking the car every day. It's something we would do like a lot of car dealerships. We tend to make the parking stalls a little smaller, again, because it's not a public use. People aren't getting in and out of the car with groceries or with children. It's just they're there, they park the car, and then they leave. So 68 vehicles. No need for utilities, no need for lighting, because this is not a facility that would be used after hours. Again, they're operating during the school hours of operation. So very simple, very good creative use of the site.
Excuse me, before you go any further.
Sure.
Christine, let the record show that we're taking P 25-05A, the CAM application, at the same time.
Right.
Okay.
And as part of
Go
that
ahead.
CAM
Yeah.
application, that's where the storm drainage really comes
Yep.
into play, and the work that we had previously done as part of another project. On this plan, you can see this, hopefully you can see this little structure, that's the hydrodynamic separator. And when that was designed, it was designed to take all this area, so we don't have to upsize it or increase it. It's just, this was a big operation to put this in. Ray was telling all you about it. It took about 3 months to get that in the ground. But it's done now, so that makes this work much easier. There were a couple of, I believe, you know, we had some comments from zoning that Alan had forwarded to us. One or two questions on it, if that's something I could bring up at this moment. There was a requirement to post a bond. I'm not sure if that would be applicable. I was wondering what the bond would be for public improvements. I'm wondering if that's something that could be waived. And then the other thing that we wanted to discuss is, I believe it's a typical comment that you probably make on every parking lot, but you're looking for acre-wide landscape islands with 2-inch caliber trees at the end of each row. Since this parking lot's not for the public, it's not really visible from anywhere, I would request that, respectfully request that maybe those trees be placed in other areas. It'd be a total of 8 trees, there's 4 parking rows, so, you know, one at the end of each row with the 8 trees total. There's areas on the site that I'm sure maybe would rather place those 8 trees. Other than that, we're a pretty simple application, the comments are pretty minor. Look forward to your discussion.
We'll go through here. Did a good job in presenting that, by the way. Paul?
Yeah, Andy, you looked at the drainage, is that gonna be adequate, the existing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for them to infiltrate, but because the contamination on the site is just not
Yeah.
appropriate for this
How
location.
about that road going in? Is there gonna
Yeah.
be any drains in that as well?
Well, they have that one catch basin that's in the middle of that.
Yeah, but that road's gonna have to pitch, the parking lot's gonna pitch toward that, right? That one,
Let's see.
that one, if you go back to the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
first-
we did show spot grades on here, the 4 corners,
Yeah.
and they all do direct water, even put little flow wire was in there to show that everything's going into that.
Yeah.
So those arrows
But-
are, right? It all goes towards the catch basin.
Yeah, it all goes into this basin, and then
Okay.
there's an area around the basin that would have.
Now, the roof leaders go right down to that too, and that, is there only roof leaders that go to this catch basin to pick up any additional water?
The roof leaders from the building are going into a separate system. They're going into like a rain barrel system on the corners. But on the northern side, I'm not sure if other aspects of it go into some underground system. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a long time since I've been
Probably.
there. Anyway,
But again, as Chris indicated, this is something that's in a general sense, is a very good use because of the ELUR that's on the property. So you're looking at just doing something that just uses the surface and doesn't require you to dig at least a whole lot. So that aspect of it, you know, makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure that I appreciate the offer to take the trees that would have been there and put them somewhere else. You know, the purpose of your reg is to prevent a sea of asphalt, you know, somewhere.
Shade the parking lot.
And appreciate not arguing about paving it. You know,
Right.
that's a good thing.
Right.
You know, so there's that, but I'm not sure if the islands don't need to go there, with the, you know, with the trees in them, you know, at that spot. You know, again, there's no infiltration because of the contamination. It's only gonna be a problem. But anyway,
So about the about the trees and having the islands. What's your opinion on that?
I think that you need to have the trees in the island. I'm not certain that there needs to be excessive excavation, but they do have an opinion from an LEP
Good
that
evening.
says,
The North Haven Library will be closing in 5 minutes. Please bring all items to check out at this time. Thank you.
we're getting there. I don't know what the minimum depth we could come up with for a tree, in that lot would be. I like the use and such that, it's a good use, it ought to be there.
Because it doesn't disturb anything, but now we're talking about disturbing.
Well, and I don't know that we are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a very shallow proposal to do something, and I don't know if potentially the islands could be mounded up,
Okay.
or
Right.
where it could get some small
Exactly
trees in there, 2-inch caliber, of course.
Rather than dig it down into the,
2-inch caliber trees are not huge. I mean, you're talking a
No.
2-foot to 30-inch deep hole, 2 feet in diameter.
can we go back to my original question? That road you were talking about putting in there, is that, no,
No,
that's
Go on your first
your
page.
first page.
So there already is. a
I know you
pavement
talked about
section.
having the other drains there, but no, go back
No,
to the
back.
right there.
That's
See,
it.
Yeah.
that. Right now, that's
That's a gravel
gravel.
roadway.
So
Yeah, yeah,
you're
it's-
not putting any additional drainage in that, for that? You don't
No,
need-
no,
There's
it-
no need for it, is my question.
No, it currently, everything, generally a lot of water flows down to Center Road. There are catch basins in Center Road that go
Okay.
out. Everything on the site, there's a few catch basins. There's a storm system on the site we're tying into it here. So there would be some of this that would kind of end up in Center Road.
Okay.
There's a catch basin right at the end of that driveway, though, right
Yeah.
near the
Yes.
gross
Yeah.
particle separator, so.
Yes, yeah.
And they'll put cross pitch on the driveway.
Okay.
I don't think that's an issue. And I think he's intending to just grade the parking lot so that it sheet flows right off. So Andy, I don't think I had a
No,
problem with that.
no, I don't have an issue.
Good.
The other issue with this, and, I apologize in advance, but this is just slightly more complicated. The last proposal that the owner came through with was for the solar panels. There was a bit of an anomaly that developed out of it in that they put the EV charging stations on the south side of that driveway. We're okay with that, but they moved the handicap parking space to the north side of the driveway. That we're not okay with. So Chris has revised the drawings, and they show the 4 EV spaces and 1 additional handicap space, all on the south side of that driveway. So they're in the process of correcting the problem that had resulted.
Those spaces are servicing the other building, though.
Right.
That's not connected to this.
Got nothing to do with this, right?
Correct.
That's correct, yeah, it's just sort of amending that, which will straighten out a little problem with building, and we appreciate Chris working with us on that and quickly getting something done on that. But that'd be a part of this.
Is Upjohn still doing testing on that?
On their site?
Yeah.
No.
Not on yours, but on the
On their
original,
own?
yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's
Yes.
any testing anymore. They're into just long-term monitoring and maintenance, yeah, that's
Right.
about it.
Okay.
And the water treatment plant will run in perpetuity,
Okay.
so
Right.
yeah, that's a long road over there. Maybe an endless road, if you
Yeah.
can get right down to it, yeah.
It is an endless road.
Right. No more questions?
I do have a question, because they are 2 separate properties that we're kind of joining. Is that at some point in the future gonna be an issue?
The building department, if we had a building that was gonna straddle the line, it would be a problem. But seeing that there's a common owner to both parcels, she's consenting to that. I don't think she can put the parcels together because of the situation with the ELUR. I'm not exactly sure about that, but it's not as simple as just taking two parcels and putting them together. Seeing that, I don't think it would even be simple to sell them or to sell one and not the other. So I didn't really press the issue of that, and there's no building code problem that would result from it. But
Okay.
I do have one question. You said there's not gonna be any lighting because of the times that they use the vehicles. But that's not wholly true, because certain times of the year, they're off in their vehicles before it's light out. Is there any way you could consider even lighting from the other buildings? I could see problems happening down the road. I'm not trying to give you a problem, I'm just looking ahead. You know, I don't want you to have to trench electric over there, because again, we're digging up that we don't need to, but that's something you might want to think about, especially if they don't go through with the whole time change that they're not going to do or going to do, we don't even know anymore. Those mornings, they're going out, you know, in their vehicles, it's still dark out, as late as 7 o'clock in the morning.
That's something you might have to discuss with your tenant. I don't know.
Yeah. So my comment really is there a feasible way to light it from the existing building possibly?
Like this building here might potentially be able to do that.
part of the problem with using that building is, my understanding is that that portion of that building may come down at some point. I don't know, I was talking to the facilities gentleman that you have there. Maybe another accommodation could be made thereafter, but I don't know if the power's on.
You might want to consider an option to get lighting there.
Certainly in the future. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
You're gonna need it, you may need it in the future. If you don't need it immediately, but, you know, maybe when the clocks go back is where you're getting it, it's dark a little earlier in the day, and, you know, you may need some lighting there. It's something you probably ought to take a look at. Is that okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I actually have another question. Were you just trying to max out the parking, or do you need that many parking spaces for this use?
They requested that.
Okay.
For 30 vehicles, you need 60 spots,
Yes,
right?
you need the
Because you need the
person
person
coming
coming in.
Just drops their car.
Yeah.
I don't have any more comments. I'm good.
Gentlemen, anything else?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Staff? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There we go.
410, and that's the CAM, is, that's 6 and 7. Okay.
You want me to shut it?
Okay, Rod, would you read the next site plan hearing, please?
Yes, so I did not read number 7 because that was heard at the same time, but Vern corrected that for the
Correct.
record, the CAM application. So we're on to item number 8 now, P25-06, site plan application of Locust Realty Associates LLC, applicant and owner relative to 48 Giles Avenue, map 28, lot 13. Plan entitled Proposed Building 48, is it Giles or Giles? Giles, thank you. Giles Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by BL Companies, dated 2/21/25, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, IG 80 zoning district.
Okay. Gentlemen, ladies?
Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, John Acropora, Conan Acropora, and I'm going to sit down and give this to the newest addition to Conan Acropora, Aaron Kraft. So you won't have to deal with me.
Okay. So,
Bless you.
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the commission and staff. My name is Karen Baldwin-Kravitz. I'm an attorney with Coleman and Compora. And we are
I'm sorry,
here-
can you just spell your name?
Karen, K-A-R-E-N, Baldwin, Kravitz, K-R-A-V-E.
Thank you.
We are here to present an application for an active bus facility to support the North Haven school system. This would be a host to DATCO Bus Company, who has a contract with North Haven School System to provide busing for the September 2025 school year. This site was previously approved to be an inactive bus storage facility for North Haven School System, where buses that were not being used were simply stored. So that application was approved in April of 2022. So we are asking that the use be changed to an active bus depot for North Haven School System. It is an ideal location for this because it is 1.2 miles from the high school, 1.4 miles from the middle school, basically straight down Second Point Road. So it's a minimal impact for buses that are already out and about. And also with regard to the timing, this is, the situation is such that this has to be basically in place by June 1st in order for DATCO to provide this service to the school system starting this school year. So with that, I will turn it over to John Mancini of BL Companies and Robert Rolls, also BL Companies, our engineering team.
Thank you. For the record, John Mancini, Senior Principal, BL Companies, 355 Research Parkway, Meriden, Connecticut. With me is Bob Rolls, also Senior Engineer with BL Companies. So in 2022, we came before you, and what I'm going to do is flip real quick to what we got approved then. So at that time, we modified our building approval. We had gotten one previously that was a little bigger. We modified it into 2 phases. This building here is under construction. This paving is part of that construction that's going to be happening. In addition to that, there was an entire drainage system approved with that approval. We're not touching any of this. It's underway. Footings and foundations are being poured now, and they have the approvals for all of that. Everything's in place for that. What we're talking about is this area here. In this area, back in that approval, as Karen mentioned, the use for that area was some stockpiles that we had to call out on our plan per this commission requirement, and as well, some, a call out for bus storage. So if you go out there now, there's a bunch of buses stored in this general area. There's some piles of material in this area. At the time, there were some piles of material, millings in this area. Over the last 20 years, prior to John buying this property, we've owned it, what, 15? Yeah, something like that. This area has been probably not well-maintained millings, but it's been millings for a long time. So what we're proposing is in this zone, so all of those approvals, which included underground detention system, at the back hydrodynamic separator, at our outlet point, all of that is going in today. It's not part of this application. What we're here to talk about is that in this location, we had worked very closely with Andy. He was here then as the town engineer, and we had called out for tightly compacted, fine roadway millings for this area and directed our flow independent, 2 different systems, to a drainage swale / basin in this corner. So the shape of that was slightly different. And as we noted on the plan, it was more elongated. Now it's here and like this. So, but the volume of it is still the same. One of the conditions was to provide more detailed calculations. We provided volume calculations. We have no problem with that as a condition of approval to provide that calculation to the commission. So the way this works is the safest bus facility is one where you can provide, we have 25 large buses and 25 vans. It's designed in a way where the buses are always through driving, so they're not pulling in. So they're coming down an aisle, through and around, they're coming down this aisle, through and around. So that's the safe way of doing this. In addition, what we have is each space for a driver, so the total, say, of 50 drivers, they have their own parking space. So they don't have to pull their bus out and then park their car in the bus space, which is what some yards do. So, so we've accommodated all of that within the development footprint that we're showing here. There's really just a few comments, both in the recommended conditions of approval by Alan as well as Andy, that I just kind of wanted to maybe draw some attention to. So, one of the comments is that we can't have more than 16 parking spaces in a row without a raised island or a landscape island. This plan right here just shows that we can easily accommodate. We can take out a space here and put them both here, so we don't lose any spaces, but we achieve the 16 in a row.
Okay.
So no issues. Any final plan would show that. We also have a facility that, you know, having landscaped islands in an area where buses are maneuvering, while we want to propose landscaped islands, it doesn't make sense to plant trees in that location, right? So one of the things that we would request is whatever the tally of the number of trees that we would require in this area, they could be placed on the existing berm that's there that buffers the neighbor. Now, the neighbor is a commercial development too. If you guys know this area, this is the drywall company here that you see from the highway coming off of Sackett Point. And this is a multi-tenanted business park. I don't know how else to say it, but there's a lot of individual businesses in there. So we're not really buffering any kind of residential use, and I-91 is here. So, again, to put landscaping in the middle of the parking lot for this type of facility, however, we are showing those islands so that we're actually reducing the amount of existing roadway millings that are tightly compacted today. And so that's something we would like for you to consider. And then the proposed dumpster location, we're not adding any new buildings or any new function. The dumpster location that we got approved before just hasn't been installed yet, but that is in this location. And we're still using that. One of the nice things about the building being constructed is many times when we've done these facilities, sometimes we don't have the ability to have what I call through driving of buses. We don't have the room for it, but in addition, what typically happens is there's either a temporary / permanent for the number of years of the lease trailer, like so that people can come to. A good example of a yard that we all see when we're driving, if you're on 91 and you're about to get off of exit 80, Route 80, exit 8, which is where Lowe's and Walmart is. Don't turn that way, but stay on the inside, down below there, you'll see a massive yard. That's currently where these guys are driving in and out of to get to North Haven. And it's just not efficient. They're servicing this town. So in those instances, you see a job trailer there, and you see like porta potty toilets. The building, the first space here will provide a space for them, 1,000 square feet. It'll have, you know, a unisex toilet, and it'll also have a meeting room and a place for the drivers to gather. So we don't have any of that other, I'll call it clutter in the yard. And then it needs to provide a soil and erosion plan. We're happy to provide that to Andy for his review as a condition of approval. And then lastly, the issue we heard all night about this roadway millings versus pavement, and we do understand and recognize the section in the regulation. As I said, this site has had millings on it for over 20 years. And we promise, and we can have this as a condition of approval, that we are gonna maintain these millings. So annually in all other yards, Pete, Paul is here, he's with Daddio Buses, Dadco Buses rather, and in all other places where they park, there's either a dirt parking lot or roadway millings. And they have to maintain the millings. We've committed to maintaining the millings. What I mean by maintaining, sometimes millings get as hard as pavement, especially during the seasonal times of, you know, like the winter and or summertime. But there's times when a pothole may arise. We've committed to fixing the pothole and rolling it yearly. So this thing will be backfilled with fine millings and maintained. We've run our calculations as if it was paved. So our storage in our basin is already accounting for it as if it was paved. And because this is so tight, that's the conservative way to do it. So it's just an expense that these types of facilities just can't absorb, is paving a site this big for the buses. And so that's the one thing, Mr. Chair, we'd like to talk to you about. That's would be our request, is that we stick with the pavement millings.
Well, we will talk about that. In deliberation, we'll discuss,
Yeah,
we'll
okay.
discuss everything here. As a matter of fact, somebody's gonna be asking you questions about that, I'm sure, and I'm sure Andy's gonna get on this for
Okay.
sure. That's been one of our, that's something that we've done right along as put the millings, and we're driving on a continuous basis. We always use the finished course on top. So, or whatever the case may be, in the years that was done. So, but anyways, when we get into, does that
Yeah,
conclude?
and the only other thing, Mr. Chair, is I do want to say there's some enforcement issues that need to be addressed out there. There's some piles in this area that will be eliminated as part of this work. And if that's, you know, you heard the timing by Karen of how quickly this has to happen in order for the school year for this to exist. Because if this doesn't happen in that fashion, they just won't. They just can't be here, you know? So we will address and take care of those piles. You know, Alan is correct that the basin in the corner is gonna be going in, it needs to go in with that lower section. That's how we were dealing with the drainage, and that hasn't been constructed
Yeah.
yet, so.
I understand that, but I think everybody on the commission, as well as town engineer, and now, we're all concerned about that basin.
Yep.
You know, we've discussed that, and we've discussed everything you just talked about, actually. But the fact of the matter is, you know, one way or another, this has come to the surface, so,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna have to address some of that.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions on the existing buses that are not being used right now, but they're there on the property.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen with those?
Those are all gonna be eliminated.
All of them are gonna
All eliminated. That lease will be terminated.
Okay. Back when we approved the building, we talked about a buffer. I don't
Yes.
think that buffer was ever put in
Yeah.
in back of the
On the
building.
residential end, right?
On the residential
Yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah. So, as you guys have probably seen, this buffer went in like 10 years ago. Those
Right.
pines are amazing. The buffer's great. This has not been done
Okay.
yet, but John knows it has to be done.
Okay.
100%.
Gotta go.
So.
That was
That's
part
got-
of our approval,
For
whatever
the
it is,
last
2 years.
2 years.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, and it's on the plans, so just to be clear, no one's, it's on the plans. These are the approved plans from before. Okay?
Yep.
I haven't heard any talk of lighting for this area.
So, we will provide you with we'll provide a plan to Alan and Andy as a condition of approval, a lighting plan.
You're gonna plan to light the whole lot?
Yeah, this area of the lot.
I think that
yes,
makes sense.
yes,
That's good from a
yeah.
safety
Yeah,
perspective.
well, there's no question that these people will be there when it starts. I mean, because if you're starting at 5 in the morning, it's dark.
Rod, you got any questions here?
Yeah, my question really has to do with the drainage situation, because I remember this application from before and being concerned about, you know, like transmission fluid, oil, brake fluid, whatever, coming out of these buses. And it was, I think we felt it was acceptable because these weren't in regular use, right? And I've driven by this thing every day and I see those buses perched right up on the edge, and I'm always wondering, like, God, they look so close, and I know that's sheet flowing right into essentially the river on a, you know, on a heavy flow. So what I want to ask you about, because now we're talking about a more intense use, 100 vehicles, when you count the buses and then all the people that are coming to drive them.
Yep.
50 of which you can say are clean, or DATCO can say, you know, they don't have any leaks, they're well maintained, but we can't necessarily say the same for the drivers that are coming every day. And so I remember asking before about whether there was going to be some sort of separator or something down in this basin so that all these fluids don't end up leaving the site and going into the river. Can you help me understand
Yeah.
what
So-
kind of whatever?
So first of all, from a drainage standpoint, the basin is set up in a manner where, from a calculation standpoint, Mr. Williams, we're not taking any credit for infiltration. The soils out here, there's some good soils, but not in this immediate area. We haven't done a test pit in that area to be able to say, hey, you know, Andy, the infiltration rate is, you know, under the maximum requirement, it's such. So our calculations are assuming there's no infiltration, but in reality, there is gonna be infiltration. That's the whole reason why you do a basin, right? We will have an under drain to that so that any low flow and the basin wicks itself out, right? You don't wanna keep water in the basin, right? So, but when you're doing this type of swale basin, it's a little harder to, the renovation comes from the traveling of the water in the swale and into the basin. And it's, unlike the system we have up here at this location, to your point, because you were here and you remember this, over here, this is all collected and then it goes through an oil water separator. So I would say, so just look at where my hand is. So about 65 to 70% of the site is going through an oil water separator. So I just want to, it's this lower parking field where, as you just said, 25 vans, you know, 25 buses, 50 cars of the drivers coming. The buses themselves have to be 7 years or newer by state law and by your charter with the town. And they have to be maintained, because obviously, if these buses aren't maintained, you guys are gonna keep these guys around. So the vehicle of the driver, you're right, I don't know, you know, assuming they have to have a reliable vehicle. But, you know, if there's something we can propose at the basin outlet that can help meter and help do the stormwater quality that you're asking for, we're happy to add that feature. It's just, you know, what we're proposing is some islands. So in those islands, while I don't want to plant trees because it's kind of silly because they're going to get knocked over probably by the buses, where we could plant trees in this berm, as Alan probably and Andy have seen, there's an existing berm along here, and right now that berm is just filled with invasive growth and nothing special. We can tear that all out and put in whatever trees that would be required in the islands in that location, so we can check that box. But in terms of, and those islands are gonna also create some infiltration for the stormwater quality. I do remember the discussion, so I completely understand your points on that, so.
Maybe I could ask Andy, I mean, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, one thing that could be done would be plantings. So along along this lower, there's that kind of little lower swale
Swale,
that the parking
yeah.
lot drains to. You know, if you were to populate that with some plantings, maybe plant along the edge of the basin, along the edge of the parking lot, you know, that would at least provide some means for that water to get clean as it comes through.
And let's shorten the length of the playing field here for a moment. You've got two situations in terms of this parking. You've got what I'll always make you come for an approval for outdoor storage for the area where the buses are gonna be kept overnight and the vans as well. The parking for that is required parking for the use. So let's just distinguish for a moment here. I think there are two categories of the use. There's the storage component that wouldn't be necessarily required to have the 3 inches of bituminous. And then there's the parking portion of it, which I would say does. That's required parking for the use. Part of the use is gonna be 1,020 square feet in a building, but it's gonna be outdoors. It's gonna be the storage of those buses and the vans. But that's a reduction in a way of the requirement, rather than talk about paving the entire area. I think there are two types of areas there.
Yeah,
I-
and Alan, if
Yeah.
I can just clarify one thing, and I understand what you're saying, but I want to be clear. All the parking that we need for the building itself is on that land approved by you guys and has nothing to do with our buses right now. So just to be clear, all the parking we need for all these uses is on the plan. It's located here, it's located here, it's located here. That meets the bulk zoning for all of this, and all of that goes through an oil water separator, okay? So I think what Alan's trying to do to help us out, to break this down, is he's saying the buses are storage, but we do have these perimeter spaces that the car that you're talking about, the guy that's driving, the bus driver, is gonna park there. So Alan, did I hear that correctly?
Yes, I
So
think
so-
that's accurate.
Yeah, so those areas, if we pave them, perhaps like, so Andy's spot on, like, and we didn't think of this, but, so Andy's correct, like, this could easily just have a vegetated swale along the whole way. So Andy, I don't need to keep the contours going straight over. I could bend, when I
Yeah,
get to the 20-foot space, bend them back. to the-
Yeah, I would run a swale on both sides and then plant it.
So you guys see what I'm saying? Like, so right now, this contour comes to the edge of this paved milling. I would stop the contour at the beginning of the space and bend it. So now it's going into this swale. And we could do that on both sides and run vegetation all along there. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Ian, because a mechanical separator works for that other 65%, but it doesn't for this area. So-
You know, and similarly.
It does not for this area, no matter what.
No, because you'd have to put an entire underground drainage system in.
Okay.
And it would be very disruptive.
I got it.
Yeah.
Similarly, in areas of required parking, the landscaping with the islands is required. It's not necessarily required for the areas of storage, which is a different category. So again, there are really two different types of uses for this southern parking area, if you will. If you're following me, so it's possible to treat them differently in
But
terms
those-
of both the landscaping.
And those other interior islands, we're not saying, we could easily work with Andy and we can have them a little depressed and we can put in, like some pea stone, something attractive, right? But the landscaping, putting it there is just a waste, it's really just a waste of good landscaping when we can vegetate the edges, as Andy said, but in addition, I wish I had a picture of this, there is a berm there already, but there's no good plantings on top of the berm. Yeah, but,
They mow it.
yeah, they mow it, but there's really no landscaping on top of it, it's just grass. So,
Buffering is something new.
But I think the issue is down the road, if you put trees in, you know, if you had a white oak or a sugar maple, these things are gonna very quickly overhang the parking lot itself, you know, which I think is gonna be a problem. If you had a tree that was more columnar in its shape, which I think you can get, you know, it might not be as much of an issue. I hate to think of you rolling over the islands either. Landscape could be landscaping stone, sorry, Carrie, but, you know, it depends on how you look at it. Carrie's a landscape architect.
yeah, I
but
know.
the,
I was looking at her when I said pea stone, she kinda rolled her eyes, but I get it, yeah.
But in those other areas that might be possible to do that,
Yeah.
I would stick to my guns that the areas of the required parking for the drivers, I think should legitimately have the trees. But it's you have the ability to select a tree that is more advantageous to Mr. Akinbora's situation, if you will.
Right. So, Mr. Chair, we would take a condition of approval that the pavement on the edge parking on both sides has to be paved. I mean, that spaces would have to be paved, and that we would have a vegetated swale on the nose end of the space along both sides. I think it's a great way to, because all that water is getting back to this location anyway. This is the high point of the site, it's all coming around anyway, so doing that makes perfect sense.
And you'd need the islands for that particular portion, and as you referenced, John, earlier, the every 16 spaces should have the island and on the ends.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
reasonable.
That's not a problem. I think for us to put some vegetation in this island or that line on the edge, that's not gonna be a problem, because that's not where buses are. That's where you and I would park if we were a bus driver.
Now, the definition of a space, I think in the regs, includes a percentage of the aisle. So, where were you on that, John, in terms of paving for access for those particular drivers'
I was
vehicles?
thinking the first foot of the aisle. No, just kidding.
I thought so. I know that's what John was thinking.
We
But-
didn't think of the aisle. All I'm saying is, honestly, given the use of the buses and the turning, I think if you pave only half the aisle, the success of that pavement is not gonna be there. You either gotta pave the space and pave the aisle, or you're just paving the space. And we would like for us to pave the space, do the stormwater quality with the swales, and leave the roadway tight millings, maintained every year, that can be a condition. Like I said, provide you with a landscape plan, provide you with the,
I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that. This facility have to be on.
I understand.
Well, I think that's an important issue in light of the fact that the basin, the stormwater quality basin, or whatever you would refer to it as, that was not installed and the storage of the buses took place.
I understand.
What promises could we ensure beyond what I'm sure the attorney loaded front table here would tell me, that you're gonna have 5 years to complete all of this work? So what assurances could the commission have that this is gonna take place to protect that little stream that's about 8 1/4 inches off the edge of John's property? So
Alan,
there's some concern.
There's a lot of history as to why it didn't get put in, because it was part of the whole upward development. Number one, the weather wasn't cooperative. Number two, the contractor that had a contract to do it left the state. So that was some issues. But this whole project in whole, the entire site, now will be done by the June 1st deadline. because you're not gonna be able to get in here to do that, and it's gotta
on
be
the
done
record.
prior, it's gotta be done prior to their occupying the site. So that's basically the end of story.
Well, so that's the testimony that's been offered to you.
That's pretty quick, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
And
mentioned,
a question for you, I see the location of the dumpster currently, and I think the dumpster was taken care of in terms of the earlier approval. That looks like that's gonna be an inaccessible space, so I'm just looking to have some accommodation made that's a serviceable location, so
Yeah.
just asking to have that put on the drawing. And again, in the absence of showing every detail of what was previously approved, I'm looking for a note prominently located on the, well, we have one sheet, on that sheet that would say that all of those conditions of the earlier approval and all of those features are still a requirement of this
No-
particular
no
approval.
issues. No issues.
Are
We'll add that.
we gonna require additional bond for this, or?
Yeah, I had a bond
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
There was a $3,000 bond that had been recommended.
Before up on the original project. There's already request on the original project.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with posting the bond or submitting the as-built or any of the items that Alan said, other than this idea of millings versus paving.
Now, was there a bond for the addition, the original?
Yep.
Yes.
What John is saying is $4,000.
Yeah, okay, so 4, and you're saying another 3,500, or?
3,000, I think, was recommended. Well, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, little glaucoma kicking in, but, okay. And it, just a little note that whatever you might have in terms of requirements for mechanical equipment, please put them on the site plan. If you come back later and your mechanical guy comes in, he's gonna be lined up with all these other folks in the back who are looking to get an approval under other, that'll have to come back to the commission for mechanical equipment. So do me a favor as well and just show the stuff on the plan, and that'll help, and we won't have to return to the commission.
So if that's all, I'm sorry, go ahead, John. One big item, and we mentioned it in some of the comments, is about and you proposed, one of your documents says how many vehicles are gonna be in that area down that residential street. You're gonna add 300 vehicles to that residential street per day.
Well, that's not.
Right.
It's not really 300 vehicles, right? So let's just take the AM, let's talk about daily AM. So we're coming, as a bus driver, you're leaving that bus terminal between 5:30 and 7:15, right? So the 50 cars are coming over the course of that hour and a half, because
Mhm.
not every bus driver has to leave with their vehicle at the same time.
Right.
So you got those 50 coming in. Then you have the buses leaving.
Right.
But Paul, the math of what you're doing, adding up, that's over the course of the whole day.
Right,
Right?
that's Rick
However,
said, yeah.
that's not true, because some people take their bus back home,
Okay.
all right? Or they go to a location and they leave the bus, right? So they don't all come back to the facility.
Okay.
Same thing with the afternoon, right?
So let's say at the least amount of vehicles will be 200.
Yeah, so.
In a
correct,
day.
Correct.
Past
Over
the
the course-
residential area.
Yeah, but we don't have a problem, I think, Andy had mentioned, would we consider Grasso, right? Because Grasso has the light. We don't have a problem at all, and this is one of those things where, unlike a public facility, this is not. These bus drivers work for DADCO. They're gonna be told where to go. We don't have a problem with taking them up Giles, at the stop sign, making a right, come out to Grasso, make a left, and you're at the light. It's not a problem. But I just, like, remember, there's buses in the morning and in the afternoon all over the town, and they're coming from somewhere. I think one of the attractive things about this site is that Sackett Point Road, although it had its problems with 2 bridges, and one's taken care of, you still have the railroad bridge. Sackett Point Road is an amazing east-west artery. You can get anywhere on that road. You can get to the middle school, the high school, pretty quickly. So I hear you, and if you say, as a condition of approval, we want you to come out at the light with the buses, we don't have a problem with that. But 200 or 300 over the course of a day, that's not a lot of traffic. And the buses are already on the road. They're just coming from a different yard. They're coming to these neighborhoods, so.
But it's also,
Not all buses, there's 27 of them are vans.
Right,
They're
right, not all
vans.
buses, right.
vehicles, yeah.
Yeah, but vehicles, yeah.
I
He didn't say
understand what
buses,
you're
he
saying,
said-
John's, about the buses and the number. I assume that all of the drivers live beyond the perimeter of the town of North Haven, so they don't go home to the residential area and park their bus in that residential area, which would be over the capacity limit for that. But okay, let's keep a good thought on that.
Well, I
Let's assume.
actually see that happens a lot. Like, if you drive
It
through
does.
communities, there's school buses parked in people's driveways all over the place.
Vans
So-
as well.
And vans. And there's 25 school buses and 25 vans. A van you could easily park. But let's just say they all come back.
Okay.
They're all coming back.
But let's just say that it is more advantageous to go on leaving the site,
Yeah.
take the right down Locust and the left onto Grasso and come out at the light. Does the light have a favorable enough timing to deal with that? Would there be some adjustment that would be necessary to the timing? I agree with you, and you're, what do I know? I'm just an architect. But I agree with you, Sack Point Road has the capacity to handle that number of buses.
There's
I don't-
gonna have to be some adjustments to those lights,
But-
because it takes 2 or 3 times as long for a bus to get through the light than it would a regular vehicle. So they probably, something have to be done for the timing of that.
Well, it does, and as Mr. Gavin would say, there are other industrial users in the area, and we don't want them to have an inability to access their property or egress their property,
We
at
have,
that time.
We have no problem with a condition that says, my traffic engineers have to look at that light and see if we have to partition for any timing change. Because it'll only benefit that industrial park. Remember, that's a 4-way intersection with Elm, Grasso, and Sackett
Right.
Point. It's a pretty main intersection.
Certainly is.
And so no problem with looking at that.
It's the only one.
But also, one more, throw
Yeah,
something
please.
else in there.
Yeah.
Signage, so no buses allowed down that first left when you get out of there, just so the buses don't go down that street, because then it could be, because it'd be hard for you guys at DATCO, whatever, you gotta train everyone, monitor who's going left, who's going right, but if you put a sign there, it'll be monitored by the local police.
Yeah.
Would you be against, Paul, having the vans go that way? They're like 12 passenger vans.
It's already very congested over there. The Aces vans. If you ever go over there at certain times on Sackett Point Road, the Aces vans, then they're coming out of every 6th street there. And it actually gets very frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
And now we're adding to the mix.
Yeah, but I think, John, what they're talking about is small signage that just says school bus route, school van route, and there's right of way on all the roads. So we have ample room to place a sign. So it's not like we don't have room. to
Yeah,
place
and
signs.
I don't know if there's a great line of sight getting out taking that first left out of your
Yeah.
place and going to Sackett Point, because you're looking down the hill and it goes off a little bit to the
Yep.
side. So I don't think there's a good line of sight there.
Sackett Point.
That's another,
Right.
that's another issue going that way. So.
Well, if you
But
address
and
the
I'm not a
light.
traffic, you
No,
know,
no,
the-
I think you
the
guys,
guy, but just-
honestly, when I brought this up with my traffic engineer who couldn't be here, lucky for him, he's in Florida. He said if they wanna go that route, no problem, and if they want us to propose signage for the route, we can do that too, so.
And
Yeah, I'm-
understanding
I think so.
for all parties that those are directional signs and they would not
The advertisements.
advertise or brand Datco on those particular signs, nor any other enterprise that Mr. Aguirre has. Now, the other question I have for you, John, you showed some concern for running over the islands on the property. Has anyone looked at the turning radius from Giles onto Locust to take the right? And is it possible to swing a bus on,
Yeah.
to take that right
Yeah.
without crossing the center line?
Yeah, I mean, the buses are probably turning down that road right now, so, I mean, are we saying that there's no student on Giles? Are we saying there's no student on Grasso? Are we saying there's no student on, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure.
It's more the volume, I think, Jim,
Yeah.
than anything, because
So-
it's
so,
gonna,
but-
there might be
but-
one or two
But I
pickups.
guess the point is, usually when, so let's stick to, if we accept the route of the traffic light. So if you're gonna put a traffic light in at a main intersection with Elm and Grasso, I have to imagine there's other industrial uses on that road. If a truck is making that turn, a bus can easily make the turn. So, I'm not sure.
I'm only
They're coming
concerned
out of-
with the right from Giles
Yeah,
onto
because-
That's the only one
Locust.
he's talking about. He's talking
Yeah,
about
the-
from Giles Avenue to right onto Locust.
Okay.
Going,
I got
that's
you.
the only one he's talking about.
So, I guess what I would say is,
There's trailers.
we will provide you with a truck turning template, and if some little piece of curb needs to be replaced or paved to make that turn, we'll do it. Not an issue.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Now, before we get off, Rod, we want to get back into more.
I just don't know where we ended up on this idea about paving the outside spaces. Is that just a no now, or is it a possibility?
No, so
or-
what we talked about is we would be okay with, so John, just understand what we're saying. We're talking about paving these spaces here only, and these spaces here, nothing else in the yard. Everything else is roadway.
It's a question of whether we can do all of this by June first.
Yeah.
And then the economics of it based on where this backhoe is with us. That's gonna add issues that may not be overcome by.
But you, so understand, I mean, I remember an urgency last time we had this, and there was, I think the lease was already signed. It was like, hurry up, we got the buses coming in 2 years ago. Yeah, there was some sort of urgency then too, but otherwise.
For the building,
We're
it was.
gonna have to violate our own ordinance if we turn a blind eye and say, Alan found kind of an elegant solution to say the buses are storage, and so.
Let me just say this. New Haven, right next to the Quinnipiac River, has 280 buses parked on millings. Actually, someone we represent maintains those every year. It's easier to maintain the millings than it is pavement. You put pavement here with the kind of traffic and the kind of, maybe God knows what the soil conditions are, that's maybe gonna fail sooner than not. Maintaining the millings, and if you remember, Johnny did this, and says, you know, it gets like pavement, and he's right. And it is a poor man's pavement. But fine millings rolled and maintained once a year are probably better than pavement.
And that's what we're saying, we're okay with that in the
Do we know
regular
what the
area, but not
base
in the
is?
parking.
Talking about the outside part.
You said that's
parking.
already millings, right?
The
Do we
actual
know
parking
how
spots.
deep the base is underneath the existing millings?
And-
There's several inches of millings there. Because the millings have been added to over years and years, so.
And is there a gravel base beneath that, or?
I'm not sure.
Every bus driver
I'm not
first
sure.
student has millings on it, and the company we represent actually dresses them once a year. And that's the easiest way to maintain it. Asphalt cracks, deteriorates, whatever. You just don't know whether we can accomplish all this in the short term. We have to. But I don't know what to tell you, Alan, about, this is an unusual thing, it's a terminal. I don't even know if the regulations refer to that use. So this is
You've
kind of
got
odd.
required parking for it. I could not with a clear conscience say you don't have to pave that area. I can with a clear conscience say the areas of the bus storage, you don't have to. In terms of getting it done by whatever the date is, July 1st, you know, that's not this commission's deadline. Okay, but the requirement should be in place. If there's a question of getting it done in a timely manner, well, maybe that's what has to give, is the time frame on it, not doing it or not.
Once this facility gets in motion, there's no way you're gonna interrupt that to pave, I don't think. I may be wrong. But, I mean,
I don't see much activity in July and August, you know, as far as if you need to get in and take a portion of it to pave, and then you move whatever you need.
Yeah, you're not gonna have the cars there.
Right, yeah, in bulk anyways. I mean, there might be some buses in use, but it's not gonna be a daily deluge of vehicles.
I don't know whether they charter or whatever they do as well, but, the other thing is the economics of this and the maintenance of it, I think, are gonna be an issue. Maintaining pavement versus maintaining millings is a big issue, and I know all the other bus yards, and we can probably give you a tally on that, all operate on millings and they're all dressed once a year, because the company we represent actually does that. And, you know, this has been that way. And then you got pervious versus impervious, and I remember Johnny, I guess, had some issues with the Wetlands Commission about using millings, and it was preferable over pavement, because you get a lot more runoff on pavement than you do with millings, but, you know, I would like you to consider leaving the site millings and maintaining it, and you could probably document that we maintain it once a year, or whenever, or sooner than it's required.
But I want to be perfectly honest, I don't think that complies with your regs.
Right.
If John would like to come back and propose a reg amendment that would adjust that or make it possible, that's one alternative. The other alternative is to go to zoning board of appeals for a variance, but I don't know another way to do it.
Mr. Chair, can you just give me 1 minute so I can talk to John for a second?
You wanna take a break?
Yeah, we take a break. Take a 10-minute break. 5 minutes. Okay, we're back.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the time. I appreciate that. We are okay with paving the outside edges of the parking lot, all the vehicle parking. So just to be clear, 30 spaces here, -1 for the island, and 16 and 17, 25 here, -1 for the island. And directing, there's already a swale here, which is gonna be vegetated, and here, instead of bending these contours like this, they're just gonna bend like this and like that. And vegetated.
It's still gonna drain down?
Yeah, and those plans will be approved by the town staff, once we draw them up.
Okay.
Thank you. Condition of approval.
Okay, Rod, do we have that end figured out now? Are we good with that?
Yes.
Gary?
I wouldn't be able to articulate that, but we all understand what's going on.
Well, that's why I called out.
I think we're good.
25.
We're good.
Yeah, well, we wanna make sure we understand what's going on.
I was trying to put like a place to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, you good?
Mm-hmm.
You good?
Okay.
You good to go?
Yep.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, we have any more questions from the applicant before we get any further?
I do.
You do?
I do not.
I don't.
Okay. Okay, folks, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Okay.
That closes this one for the moment. Okay. Give them a chance to clear out of here a little bit. Okay, Rod, when you're ready, would you please read in the next, the call for the next site plan?
Next site plan is item number 9 on the agenda, P2507, site plan application of Manraj Pamar applicant, Commercial Investment Group LLC, owner, relative to 117 Washington Avenue, map 73, lots 9 and 5. Plan entitled Proposed 7 Brew Coffee Establishment, 117 Washington Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut, 06473, prepared by Godfrey Hoffman Hodge LLC. Dated February 18th, 2025, scale is 1 inch equals 20 feet, IL 30 zoning district.
Okay. There you are, sir.
Good evening, Marcus Puttick from Godfrey Hoffman.
Marcus?
26 Broadway.
Marcus.
Yep. I'm back again. Good evening. This is a proposal for a drive-through only coffee shop. 7 Brew is a relatively new franchise that started in 2017 in Arkansas and has expanded since 2017 to 341 approved and open, and several here in Connecticut that are, well, this one, which is in Wallingford, was recently approved in September and opened. They have one in Vernon, which is set to open, soft opening is next week, I believe. Just got approved in Orange, so this is the 4th proposed 7 Brew here in Connecticut. This is essentially what they all look like. They're a standard building that comes pre-built from a factory on a truck, in a couple of different pieces. So there's the main body and then the muffin top, and then the overhang is added afterwards. But those pieces come and are set on a crawl space for the main building, and then behind this is a refrigeration unit which is set on a slab. So they go up very quickly, so that they can get themselves open. They do not have any space inside for customers. They won't turn somebody away if they happen to walk up to the site. So in this instance, they're in a plaza, and we'll go through the site plan momentarily, but they wouldn't turn a person away if they walked up to get a drink, but that is not the business model. The business model is 2 drive-through lanes. The uniqueness of this is they do not have a board where you order. They are very much like the Chick-fil-A model here in North Haven, where you have a person with an iPad that comes to your car, takes your order, takes your payment, relays that to the building. A separate person makes that drink, and a third person brings that drink to you when you get to the front of the line to the stop. It's designed to move very, very quickly, get people in, get people out, and on their way. There is no food, there is no preparation of any kinds of food of any kind. This is drinks only. They have coffees, teas, smoothies, and energy drinks, and mixtures of all of the bunch. So I'll move into the specific site plan for North Haven. Well, let's start with the existing condition. This is the plaza with, say, right, there's a liquor store, a bank, and a bunch of other commercial spaces and Stop and Shop in the plaza adjacent to it. Existing well-defined driveway from Washington Avenue with a light that allows turning movements in and out of the site in a safe manner. To the site plan. For the coffee shop and drive-through lanes, we propose to take out some of the parking spaces. There will be some very grading required in the paving, just so that drainage functions in an orderly way and doesn't create ponds. for the locations where people are working outside and delivering drinks and whatnot to cars. So there is some minor regrading of some of the paving and the area that we disturb will need to be repaved. The building is 540 something, 525 square feet. So it's a very small building, and then there's a 240 square foot refrigeration unit, which is just storage. In addition to that, they have a dumpster, which we'll get to and speak on in a minute. Two ingress lanes, so the presumed traffic flow for this would be inbound from Washington, turn into the existing drive aisle, come up around, pass through the drive-throughs, stop, get your drink, and then leave, and either go back the way you came and leave, or go over to Stop and Shop or the rest of the plaza, wherever you may need to go. We propose this plaza is considered a major traffic generator by the state of Connecticut, given how many parking spaces it has and the square footage of building area that it has for rent. And so it was previously registered with the State Traffic Authority as a major traffic generator, and therefore we will need to, once you approve, assuming you approve this, we will need to register and apply for an amendment to that application and permit for major traffic generator. So the state certainly will review our traffic counts. And I do have a traffic report prepared by Viveris Traffic that I will submit to Alan. And indeed for their review, with the long and the basic conclusion of his traffic report is that this business relies essentially on drive-by traffic. So it isn't an anchor, it isn't a tenant that will draw a tremendous number of new people to it. It is essentially, I'm driving by, oh, hey, let's get a coffee since I'm going by anywhere. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm leaving the grocery store and going home. I got a coffee on the way. And so even if we assumed that all of the new customers, based on some of the other 7 routes in the area in the Northeast, were new drivers on Washington Avenue, they would be a very small percentage of the total traffic that is on Washington Avenue, which it is more than capable of handling as a major thoroughfare. So I wanted to show that there is a removal of 52 spaces to accommodate the new 7 route, but we do have, we have a parking calculation, and based on the number of spaces in the plaza itself, we still meet the zoning requirements based on the uses in some of these spaces. And our calculations, we come up to 508 spaces that are required, and we have 508 spaces. There may be some areas where additional spaces could be added. Whether those would make sense or not, I don't necessarily know. But the ones that have been previously delineated and approved by the State Traffic Authority would indicate that there are 508 spaces, and we still, that's how many we need, and that's how many we do still have. So I believe we comply with the traffic requirements for the uses in this overall plaza. Provided a quick turning movement for both a trash truck collecting trash from the dumpster enclosure and a standard vehicle getting in and around the the site to show the ease with which vehicles can make their way through the site. I believe we comply with that, or the landscape plan, showing the addition of some landscaping along the boundary between the gas station and this new drive-through brew, which does not currently exist. It's just paved, both of them, and there's a guide rail between the two of them at the moment. We are moving one of the islands for parking down some, and then moving this side and adding an island at the end to create a throughfare here, where parking right now comes through this area. So you right now have to come down through and not be able to get access to this secondary aisle. So there is a minor reconfiguration of the existing parking, but for the most part, we're leaving the existing parking and its alignment as is. We want to provide a lighting plan, photometric. There are two light poles in the existing lot that we are moving just so that they're in a better location for this use. Moving the one a little closer to the street, but we still do not cast light beyond the property line, so not out into Washington Avenue, but lights the parking area in the front of the lot, and then moving this light so that we light the new parking on this side and the dumpster area, especially for the employees as they're throwing away trash at night. The bulk of the lighting for the workers themselves is down lighting that's located in the canopy, so it directs straight down from overhead. On the utility and grading plan, we are adding, as I said, some drainage. This entire existing parking lot drains to a single catch basin, which is then piped back and around towards the railroad. Based on, we're not adding or removing any of the impervious area. It's a net. That's not true. We're removing some of the impervious area and creating additional non-impervious area with some of our lawn areas and planting beds. However, based on the grading and adding curbs and a building which we need to shed water away from, we needed to add a few basins in order to not create ponding in areas around the building. So we've used dry wells for those basins, and then connected them with just an overflow pipe so that they flood evenly and all capture water, so that we're actually capturing all of the water we say we're capturing, and then they overflow to the existing catch basin and back out to the rear and towards the railroad. We're not adding additional water to that. We're capturing the vast majority of the water in this area, which does not occur now. Right now, it all just sheets flows to that one basin, and I'm not sure how that one basin takes all of that water, but we have no reports that it doesn't, or that there's an issue in this parking lot at present. So it must work somehow now, and we believe will be greatly improving and infiltrating some water. So we believe we're creating a much better situation than currently exists. Under the soil erosion sediment control plan, which is a silt fence around the outside, and we'll put some silt sacks in the catch basins. This is all hard surface that's gonna be milled and basically just repaved. There's a very small foundation to be dug and some trenching for utilities. But there's no slopes or anything to be removed, or we don't envision any real erosion control issues with this plan. Quick. We have some building plans, provided. Very small footprint with a cooler and dry storage inside. There is access to the second floor, which is essentially just a mechanical and some very minor dry storage by a pull-down ladder within the building, and then mechanicals on the back portion of the roof. I'll show. Oh, man. Tragedy. Bear with me one moment.
Here's your coffee shop.
All right, I'll listen.
So it was imploded already.
So, basic elevations of the coffee shop have been provided. As I said, these are all the same. They have, in shape and at least, they have updated this, the light colored material used to be, sort of more of a standing seam metal look, and it's now a light colored brick veneer. And as I said, on the back of the building, this flat roof portion, there is some mechanicals with a guide rail around it so that it's less visible. Yeah, that's basically where the building is, the way all of the buildings are set up for all of the secondaries. And while I fix this, if you have any questions, that's pretty well what I wanted to tell you about it, other than whatever questions you may have.
Well, maybe to concentrate on getting your pages together.
I can listen and sort papers.
I have a.
Yeah, let me ask you about this. Is this a two-story building or a one-story building? And if, go ahead.
Yeah, let me put this clip on and then I'll stand up the picture. and
That's
show
what I
you.
was thinking.
This has some dry storage in it and an access door to, some of the utilities that are gone.
Right, but there's no occupancy up there.
No,
It's
there's just a ladder that you pull down, you
Okay.
go up there, there's
that's what I'm questioning.
a space about the size of this table,
Yeah.
and then a door so you can get out onto the roof to, for some of the mechanicals above. So, and then it just has a very small, crawl space underneath.
So, let me ask you, you said you wouldn't turn somebody away. This is primarily, you drive up and they order and you drive up, pick up your, or they give you your coffee, or whatever the case may be. You said if somebody walked up.
So this is in a shopping plaza. If you were already parked somewhere in the plaza and you decided to walk across it.
But you don't have any, you have nothing to, you don't bring any people inside, or do you?
There's nowhere to go inside, no.
So it's
So
just
they
the
wouldn't
people.
come in, they wouldn't come in at all?
No, they would not. So if you walked up, which I actually at this
Yeah, I
particular
understand.
store
That's
walked
what I'm
up to,
questioning.
you know, they're right there. They're just like, hey.
But they come up
you
to you with a
coffee,
tablet,
they
right?
just do it on the tablet right there
Yeah, okay.
in
Yep,
front of
sure
you
enough.
outside.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no, there's no space where people.
It sounds like that would be difficult to walk up there with all this traffic going around there.
It's surprisingly, even with the number of cars that you can see here at this one,
Yeah,
we
what-
milled about it the other day, looking at it and taking some measurements of things and had no issue. Nobody's driving quickly through here as a point of.
Apparently, you've never been by Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks in the morning. They're driving quickly, and there's a lot of them.
What are your hours that they open?
They open at, I believe, 6 AM and close at 11.
6 to 11, okay. How many you employ here?
The largest shift that any of them has is 13.
13?
Yeah. at a
Okay,
time.
so how do you divide that up? All 13 are outside except the crew inside? making the
It's
coffee?
It's probably 50-50 thereabouts.
Mhm.
So there are folks that are stationed inside and that all they're doing is making drinks. Then there are 2 or more folks on their larger shifts that with an iPad taking orders, and there are 2 or more folks bringing drinks out.
You have somebody doing traffic control?
On large shifts, and certainly if, like opening day or opening weekend, when this place opened, in all honesty, there was traffic well down the street. They had a lot more cars than they expected. And yes, they do have enough staff, they can bring enough staff on board for something like that where they.
Well, it's very familiar to-
Control folks, where they can control traffic.
Yeah, it's very similar to Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
And,
We
you know,
had a
they
full
had
discussion
to
with them.
have people out there for a certain hour
Yeah.
to attend to traffic.
Yeah.
Um,
Chick-fil-A.
let somebody else do that.
Also, and I would like to mention that business takes slightly longer to prepare an order
Sure.
than this does. This is primarily pouring a drink and into a cup and putting a lid on it and bringing it out.
Sure.
They really are quite quick. That's part of their whole thing is, we get you in, we get you out, and on your way. You're
How
not
many-
gonna sit and wait for a long time.
How many customers come through there in, say, an hour? On a
Um,
busy
so
time of day?
I can't say per hour, but based on the data we have from Vestal, New York, which is the closest one that's been open for a decent amount of time, that it's, we'll say, established. I think that their peak, during the morning peak, I don't know why here. The morning peak was, I believe, 46.
Okay, so
During
we-
during the morning peak, which is essentially 7 to 9.
So I see that there's stacking for 23.
Yeah.
So
That's
essentially, we're
46
gonna
in
have
an
people
hour.
lining up within the parking lot.
No, I mean, we take 46 in an hour, the average wait time is 4 minutes.
Okay.
So they'll be in and out.
I'm just a little concerned with the circulation, that's all. Because that parking lot tends to be a little chaotic anyhow. And I heard you when you said that you're expecting cars to come in and immediately take that left and then zoom up the side there, like next to the proposed.
So, yes.
I don't think that's gonna
And
happen.
They could, well, and that's fine, I mean, they can circulate any which way they would like
Yeah.
through the plaza. I mean, they certainly could go straight up the line and come back down the line that comes straight into the.
Yeah.
And no issue there.
One of the things that I was gonna propose is to create a cut-through on at least the second aisle. This would allow people to be able to drive in and then turn, instead of doing the S turn that you have right now.
Well,
You know what I mean?
My opinion on that would be, there's a couple of issues that I have.
Okay.
I lose parking spaces, which then
Yep,
puts me out of
that's
zone compliance.
absolutely true, yep.
For one thing, and second, I don't mind, personally, from my perspective, I don't mind the S because it slows people down. It's a
True.
calming, you just can't go as fast in and around all of those things. If people decide that they can't get to this fast enough by going up and around and coming back or making the S turn, then they just won't go there anymore.
Yeah.
And that's sort of well within everybody's right to choose how they spend their time
The thing that I noted is that
I
there,
don't believe it's an issue.
there's a drive aisle that runs the entire length of the parking lot until it gets to the third bay, which is the one that you're gonna intercept.
Yep.
2 more bays left before you get to the main drive aisle. From a circulation standpoint, this parking lot is a problem. I mean, it doesn't move very well. And just simply just extending that drive aisle all the way through would create a little bit more in terms of circulation, allowing people to get around a little bit better in that parking lot.
And see, I look at it and I would tend to not extend it to the very northernmost aisle, because if you curl to the right, that's a horrible intersection to
Yeah, this
re-merge
piece
into the
here,
light
right.
queue.
Yep.
I'd rather have you not do that. I'm unconcerned about the parking based on your calculations, Marcus, which I think is at least akin to the STC or the OTC, pardon, calculations. I don't think they are allowing for any cycling or redundancy in the uses. I think that's just straight up compliance. And I'm not concerned about that. According to 8.5.1.6, this body is authorized to approve whatever they want. So I don't even think if they approve it, I don't even think it's non-compliance.
Okay.
I think at that point, you don't happen to comply with the table, but you comply with the commission's approval, which they have the authority, based on that first sentence, to do. So I'm not that worried about the parking count. So if you like to ease that up, maybe that does make sense. I don't know.
Well, I think, Andy, you've got a pretty good idea to get more circulation as to.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, yeah.
Going down there further, we talked about this a little bit, and getting down there a little bit so you can get some room to go, because that is a congested, coming in the immediate entrance off of Washington Avenue is the only one actually for that, no matter how you look at it. I mean, you can go to Stop and Shop on the other side, but,
Right.
it's just makes sense. But I mean, you gotta make as much flow as you can through that entrance. It's already a very congested entrance. You have the bank, you got so much turns there, and you go in, you're turning an immediate right to the bank. This will be an immediate turn to the left to get a coffee. Maybe go straight for nothing, I don't know. But anyway, if you went straight a little ways and then cut over, I think it would be helpful. But
We're happy to make that revision if the commission is happy to
Well,
reduce the required parking, we'd be happy to, I don't disagree
I'm
at
just
all.
saying the way I see it, I kind of like what
I understand the point is well taken, and I think I can make an argument either way.
excuse me,
So I'm very
I
happy
really
to
don't
do
wanna
that.
get a traffic jam
Agreed.
in that plaza no matter what, and pretty soon you're gonna have people out there directing traffic, for God's sake. And we already got too many lights there now, we
Yeah.
can't get another curb cut, I don't think.
No, and we wouldn't want another curb cut, that's why we put our drive lanes as far away from all of that as we could, so that our direct access to what we're doing is reasonably far away from the intersection, while keeping us up in front, and visible, which is a part of the Seven Brews model.
Do you pick up the coffee on as we're looking at this?
So we're gonna
Washington
enter-
Avenue being at the bottom, is that correct?
Washington Avenue is here.
Okay, if the-
Our drive aisle in, and as we're talking now, if you take this right and come up through the drive aisle, take a left, come to either lane 1 or lane 2, come around the building, somewhere in this area, next to the gas station, sort of close to the refrigeration, they hope, depending on how many cars are in line. You would place your order, and then make your way to the stop, under the canopy, pick up your order, and then leave, and go whichever way, to Stop and Shop, whatever way you want to get out.
Okay, so what I was thinking is
So
not
if we,
good.
if we left this island here, took out essentially 6 spaces, created an island, exactly like this, we would then have a 2-way drive aisle that leads you out to the main aisle and back down to the driveway.
You're gonna lose 8 spaces likely, right?
Yeah.
Six for the drive aisle, 2 for the island.
Well,
which
right,
would
but
even you
there's
out
no-
to an even 500 spaces, I guess.
All right.
Not that there's any value to that, only the, you know, truly anal would be troubled by that sort of thing anyway, but. So, if that makes sense, they can do that, and it might, since Mr. Mancini has left the building for the moment, we won't have to cast aspersions on his plan, for this, shopping center earlier. But I think everything could always use a little help, and I think it would help. And one of Andy's career goals is to continue to improve on the existing infrastructure, so you'd help him out on his way.
I got a full-size pickup truck.
Me too.
Better circulation.
Extended cab, 8-foot
Mark,
bed.
you got any thoughts on this?
I don't drink coffee.
You're out.
Well, they have smoothies.
You're out.
They have smoothies.
Smoothies and shakes and.
Yeah, they got,
Ironically enough, I'm doing a job up in the Vernon area, and as I turned to my right the other day, I realized that the place is sitting right there in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I believe they're having problems with the utility company to get their
They-
final,
They were.
yeah, they resolved that.
They did. Yes.
It's a nice looking building.
Hey.
well, what are you thinking, Andy?
Represent them, so,
Do changes and,
Yeah, no, I think we're good. Do you have any other?
One of the, I would like to, I'm just gonna submit the traffic reports. I brought 3 copies that I'm thinking whether we needed to read one, but I'll give essentially Andy and Alan one, and if you wanna look at one, certainly very dry reading. And then I have 10 copies of there was a comment about what the dumpster enclosure looks like, so, it is set up to be, to very much look like it belongs there and is part of the,
So it's got
part
the
of
same
part of the
siding?
cluster, so it has the same cladding on it, it has, solid wooden doors, it's very robust, hardware that'll allow it to last. I want to not be an eyesore.
So we'll mark the traffic report Exhibit A and the dumpster details Exhibit B, if you would.
So considering the dumpster location, do we know what time the trash is gonna be collected there? I mean, can we gauge that? They're not gonna show up at 8 AM to collect trash, right?
They're not gonna have them come, it would be a problem for them. This is a family-owned franchise.
I just didn't know if they had that
Yes,
ability
no,
to.
so they will
kinda-
have that ability
Okay.
to
Okay.
determine those things, themselves.
Okay.
And it's not a particularly lengthy process either, it's just a front-loaded,
Yeah,
dumpster,
it's just, well, it takes out both of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it will take up both ends, so yes,
Yeah.
they will have to do it when they're not open.
Okay.
At a very not busy time.
what's your time schedule to get this thing up and running?
They're extraordinarily ambitious. This one, they are hoping, I believe, July 1 will be open.
I guess so. They magically bring that stuff
Well,
right.
the building's almost
It's-
finished.
it's already
So
done.
this
It's
building
finished.
is about ready to be put on a truck already.
It's already
The
made.
one for this.
How many
It's ready to
sections
go, huh?
did you say? How many sections is that?
It's 2 sections, the main building, so there's the main floor and then the muffin top, they call it. And then the refrigeration unit is a separate, unit. So they really will go out here, remove the island, cut up a bunch of the pavement, put an asphalt or a concrete foundation in with a, a full
Two
foot
great,
saw.
drop right in there.
And then it comes, they drop it on and they're ready to rock. Yeah,
Wow.
it should go very, very quickly.
They haven't had to handle the
That's
Pontiac
pretty
Health
cool.
District.
That was one of the one, with the one in Vernon, there was a
So-
lot of
so-
comments about how one day there was nothing and the next day there was a building.
Right, so where was this made?
I do not know where the
I
factory.
mean, is it made in Connecticut?
It's not, the factory is not in Connecticut.
No, Canada probably.
It's not in Canada either.
Hopefully not.
You're not saying, okay. Rod, you good? Joe?
Sure.
Good.
I'm done.
I'm good.
Well, Alan?
Good.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Mark.
much for your time.
Thank you so much. Did a good job, let us know what's going on.
All right,
Okay.
so we got out there.
Yeah, well, take it along.
It's just the next town over, right?
I'll move along to. Change of use.
Mr. Chairman, if following the agenda,
Yeah, well,
things under other would go before the change of use.
Well, I was gonna
correct?
do just the opposite, but,
The other folks have been waiting, also.
okay, the other, 290 Washington Avenue. Someone here for that? Who could that be?
One we've never seen before.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here to talk about, Plan P 2323 that had been reviewed in February of 2024. It was a 5-year plan that was reviewed by the commission, and we're looking to actually make a slight modification to that plan and move one of the buildings. And the reason for that is a safety one, actually. We had brought in a temporary stage for the fair in 2024. It was right inside the gate. Created too much traffic and potentially a safety, so we would like to take that building and move it now about 190 feet to the east. So away from the gate, closer to the flagpole, and more in the center of the fairgrounds for safety reasons. There is a copy of the,
Okay.
I sent a copy of the map
Yep.
over.
Yep.
Yep, the little arrow.
Rod,
Gene Lewis, sorry.
any questions for the lady?
I don't have any questions. It seems like it's kind of back where it was, closer to where it was
It's
before,
closer to
right?
where it was, but maybe about 20 to 25 feet further east than where originally it was for
just-
decades.
You just need to move it there, or is this something you wanna do for safety reasons, or just,
Well, for safety reasons, because again, when we brought in a temporary stage for the fair in 2024, it was right by that main gate.
Yeah.
It created too many people, too much blocking of the aisleway there. People were listening to the music, people trying to come in the gate. And from our perspective, it really was a safety concern if we needed to get people out of there quickly.
sure enough. Kira?
I'm all set.
No questions.
Mark? Andy?
No?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, 60 Dodge Avenue.
There you go. This is This is, okay, what we have here.
Yeah.
That's the railroad trail.
Yep.
I'll use what?
Big enough, everyone can see.
Nice.
I was instructed to get a very big board, so.
That's great.
Big one you did get.
Good evening, North Haven Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm just gonna do a brief intro of myself, my team, and then Green Structure, and then I'll give you a brief project overview. My name is Sam Bolet, that's B-O-L-E-T, Senior Counsel for Green Structure. With me is Megan Farbman, F-A-R-B-M-A-N, Jacob Friedman, that's spelled like fried man, and, sorry, Marty is working with us as well. His last name is Timperio, what is that? Timperio.
Timperio.
Yes, and he's working with PurePoint, which is one of our subcontractor EPCs assisting us So let me get right into it. Green Structure is a joint venture company of Schneider Electric specializing in delivering on-site renewable energy and backup power solutions to commercial, industrial, and in some cases municipal customers. We offer on-site energy solutions to customers in multiple states across the U.S., aiming to simplify and accelerate the adoption of renewable energy microgrids. Our services provide sustainable, cost-effective, and resilient on-site energy solutions for customers. In most cases, we're making the investment into the system to develop and operate over the long term at no upfront cost to our customers in a business structure that we call energy as a service. To date, our completed projects are located in California, New Jersey, and Maryland. And it's worth noting that for Maryland, we've developed systems for an animal shelter, police station, and emergency communication center owned by the Maryland County of Montgomery, a municipal customer. Our on-site systems provide renewable energy to achieve corporate or government greenhouse gas reduction targets, reduce operating costs by providing lower electric costs, and/or provide backup power for critical infrastructure, as was the case with the Montgomery County public safety projects. So, now to our specific project, it's located at 60 Dodge Avenue in North Haven. It's in the, I believe, the northern sort of industrial corridor, sort of surrounded on all sides by industrial IL 80. It's comprised of a 480 kilowatt roof-mounted PV system and a 300 kilowatt battery system, which will be installed on a concrete equipment pad. The proposed system will power the new factory of our key shareholder, Schneider Electric, and will allow this location to be their first fully electrified and net zero carbon emissions factory. Schneider Electric's move to North Haven comprises a $15 million investment, and the products and services developed at this location will allow other government, utility, and commercial customers to achieve their sustainability and power resiliency needs. Schneider Electric recently hosted a ribbon cutting event with the First Selectman, Michael Frieda, and other state and local leaders who were in attendance. We're working in full cooperation with the owner and landlord of the property, which is ESP 60 Dodge Avenue LLC, and the tenant and site customer, which I've already mentioned, is Schneider Electric. The intended construction date is Q3 of 2025, around August, and we're intending completing this project by Q2 of 2026. And I welcome any questions you have in addition. Thank you.
If I could just comment, the reason they're here, they're putting equipment on the ground, a pad mounted on the north side, and they don't need your permission to put the solar installation on the roof. So they can do that as of right, because they're using the building's footprint.
So this is, we don't have a, thank you very much. This is not a rendering, but I just thought it would be helpful to see. This is from another project where we did a similar thing. So here is the battery, we call it a BESS, battery energy storage system, and it's on a concrete equipment pad, which in this case will be about 6 inches off the ground. So I just thought that would be helpful to visualize.
What type of batteries? Lithium? It's a UPS, like UPS system, which is fed by the solar. Is that what happens?
Similar, yes.
Yeah.
The chemistry is lithium iron phosphate.
Okay.
And that, is the pad going to be located next to the building?
Yes.
Like it's showing, okay. Do you know the size of it, or?
I actually might have the size, hold on. I have the height of it. The height is,
There it is, 20.
Right about 20 by 13 or 20 by 14 roughly.
and the height is about 7 feet, 8 inches from what I read it.
I meant just of the concrete. That
Oh,
was
sorry.
That's a lot of concrete.
Yeah, no. I don't have the dimensions on hand of the
No, that's
concrete.
okay. That's,
Yeah, no, they're on, we
they
have
filled
it
me in.
on
Yeah, sure.
one of your sketches here. Has
Okay.
23.
Yeah, 20 feet 2 3/4 by 13 6.5.
I'm a concrete guy. We don't work in 3/4.
I thought you were deadly precise, Mark. No.
Yeah, that's the engineer that wanted his wall to the 16th. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The floor is yours, please. Any questions?
Did fire look at this yet? I know they're gonna have to do that when they go to the building.
No, when they go for the permit, if they need to make an adjustment to the location or clearance, that will be whatever their will might be. prerogative. But if you can approve the location, that is to say the locating of these on the ground.
Yeah, then they'll take.
That would take care of it.
According to this, it's actually in the vicinity of their current transformers.
So this is
Yeah.
ground level, the,
Yeah, this is.
The battery system is ground level, the solar panels are roof mounted.
how high is the solar panel?
Here, on top.
About 8 feet over the roof.
Okay, so, it-
More, I'm sorry.
how much,
They're elevated over.
Panels are on the roof, so, yeah, it's, on a raft.
So how high is the rack? Foot?
usually goes 2 feet max.
I have the answer here. The building is 26 feet, and the racking is approximately 2 feet.
Okay.
So the total height with the solar panels that I have is 28 feet.
It's probably not even taller than half the RTUs up there.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got a 60-foot max height in the zone.
Right.
So you-
Good.
So our concern really is just this 20 by 14
You betcha.
concrete pad. Yeah.
And I gather the fire department will be on top of safety concerns with the location, and based on what I see here, it's next to the current transformers, so I don't see a traffic problem.
It is NFPA 70 rated and complies with the 2022 Connecticut State Fire Prevention. That helps.
Okay.
So Schneider Electric is the occupant of the building, and this will power whatever they're doing in there? Is that?
That's correct, yeah, yes.
And this is what Snyder Electric does. One of the things that they do, right?
Yeah, Schneider makes power equipment at this facility. There's a couple different business units that are occupying here. So they'll make like transfer switches and breakers, big breakers.
Okay.
So,
And you'll go into an industrial building and say, hey, we can, reduce your cost by doing X, Y, and Z. That's what your business model is, right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess you picked the right spot, because you have a lot of other big roofs in the area.
so, these batteries that you can recharge, this will power that building?
Yeah.
now, it won't power all of it. It'll just reduce the load at like the top peak times of the
Okay,
usage.
it just reduces.
It'll reduce the load, yes. Yeah.
So when it's making the electricity, it stores it to there, and as you're using it, if you need more and the panels aren't producing it, it'll pull from the
Exactly.
batteries. Okay.
It won't pull
Yes.
from that.
Okay.
Jerry?
I'm good.
Worst case scenario, they get a nice patio.
You good to go? Mark?
I am
Good to go.
Good.
There we go.
Everyone good to go? Good.
All right.
Very well. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
Yep.
you very much.
Nice job, folks.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
Thank you for the very above average
Yeah, I'm sorry,
presentation.
I'm sorry we didn't have more questions for you.
I didn't even have to put my glasses on for that. It was good.
We also make art projects.
I don't know if you noticed, but
Those are nice.
his notes were actually
They
in
are.
very large font.
I like that.
Okay, no extension, okay. Change of use. 193 State Street. Anyone here? My man. Am I glad you don't need my
There's two there.
Yeah, there is two. You're right. That's what we got.
Hello?
Hello. Your full name?
If you could spell
You gotta get
your
full
whole name so we can,
Okay, F-A-U-S-C-O. Last name is Salinas, S-A-L-I-N-A-S.
Okay.
Her name too, her name too?
sure. Sure, she's gonna say something, I know it.
Yeah.
She's gonna say it 'cause I don't know how to spell it.
That's all right. Miss,
Okay, thank you.
First time.
this is the
Now,
side.
you're speaking to which change of use on,
193, 4?
Unit 4, yes.
Okay.
Just, nail
salon. Manicure, pedicure, let's see what she has here.
I do kind of nail, nail art, and other ones, and wax.
Basically, that's what we're trying to do now.
Okay. What's there now?
What, yeah.
What's in the
It
space?
was an office use.
Okay.
So we're considering this from office to service, the nail salon.
Nail salon.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
So
okay.
Quinnipiac will have to.
Nail salon, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Quinnipiac will have to get involved, right?
As a matter of fact, yes, I think that's part of the reason they're here.
Okay.
was that became alert of that. Now, their business has been in there for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So part of what we're trying to accomplish here, I don't know, in my parlance, is to somewhat rein in a building that has not been aware of the requirement to get approval for a change of use. So a couple of these uses have been put in, and the other one at 193 State is the flower shop.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with the nail salon. It's permittable in the zone, the IL zone. Same thing with the flower shop. Retail is good, but they've got to get in and get an approval and fill out the form. And if the owner is going to, operate this and switch out tenants and such, we've got to make sure that the correct process is being followed. So.
Right, so we're simply going to a service. Is that what you?
Right, office to service.
Yeah.
Part-
Office
yeah.
to service.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Good enough, any questions, folks?
No.
I don't think anybody's,
We'll deliberate and make a decision shortly.
we'll wait for it.
Thank
We'll
you.
we'll send the boys down to get the nails done. Okay, thank you very much.
I do my own.
Okay, who was the, all right, 193 State Street?
Anyone here?
First floor. First floor.
Anyone here from Flower Nook?
Well,
She was here, but I think.
Yeah.
I will give you my standard offer. I don't know anything about the business other than,
Well, we
They
met
have
with
it here,
We met
right?
with them when they opened up at the shopping center, so I guess they just moved location. I assume it's the same owner?
I believe it's a new business that may be something that was a spin-off of that, but I think generally, yes.
What is that?
The florist.
A florist?
Yeah.
Flower shop, florist, sure, yep. Retail.
This- Mark, are you saying it's the one that was,
Did they
That's
close
the
one
name
on
of the one
plaza?
over here.
I think it did close, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I think this is.
But
spin-off.
regardless, it's a regular, and you got no problem with the parking, that lot isn't that big there. But I guess this isn't a high volume.
Maybe on Valentine's Day and perhaps Mother's Day, I don't know.
So it goes from office to.
Administrative Assistance Day, I don't know. Try to drum up as much business as I can.
Okay. I don't see a big problem.
any questions?
Besides, they've been open for a while, haven't they?
Okay, we got it good.
262.
Okay, next one we got here is nothing. Okay.
262?
One more change, 262
I'm
State.
sorry?
262 State.
We hold in our hand the last
I'm
change
sorry,
of use.
262 State. Okay. What did
Vern?
you say? 262 State Street?
Here we go.
I'm sorry, sir.
Hi. Good evening. When I work in ESPN from Beautiful Life Adult Daycare Center, and at this time I would like to expand my business to the next door building, which is really next door, which I occupy right now. And I would like, when I applied for the change of use, for the adult daycare.
We just approved your last.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Same
So you-
use,
you're-
only
you're-
you're taking over. So
You're moving to the front building, closer to this?
No.
I keep
Next
that
week.
one, and and I extended to the front building.
Good.
Now we're gonna
You're
have
expanding.
full
Both places.
Both places.
Expand.
Are you
It wants
taking
to-
over the
And this is
entire?
no work permits, there is
No.
nothing.
Just a,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a,
okay.
just a
No
Very
vertical.
good.
resident involved.
Very good, so that's good. So,
Mark, what was in there prior? Office?
As far as I know, it was medical supply.
this is office to service then, Alan.
Used to be medical supply.
It's retail too.
Well,
Retail?
I think you are looking at retail to adult daycare.
Yep.
Retail.
Mark just wants to make sure that it ends up adult daycare.
That's correct.
Whatever it used to be is
That's right.
Irrelevant.
in the rearview mirror, so.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Please, can you state your name slowly
Question?
and spell your name?
He-
M-A-R-K, last name K-A-N-E-V-S-K-Y.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can't believe you couldn't spell that.
Not at 10 o'clock.
K-A-N-E-V-S-K-I, okay, S-K-Y.
Mark, any questions? No? Good to go? Paul?
Thank you, good.
I have a question.
I'm fine.
I'm fine too.
How are things going in the rear building?
Actually, good, really good, that's why I'm expanding.
I haven't heard any complaints about anything, so it would appear that the use works on the site okay?
We are really quiet, we don't bother anybody. All my clients, my participants in the building is deaf people. Don't do make noise.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I think that-
Okay, did I miss anything else?
Make a motion, to go into-
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go into deliberation.
Sure.
I'll
I got a
second the motion.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, number one is P, 25.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Mark did. Okay, is the referral for the 8/24. Can I get a positive referral?
I'll make a motion to,
Positive referral.
positive referral.
Bear with me a sec here. Okay. Yep, so Paul, you made a motion?
Positive referral.
I'll second Paul's motion.
Okay. Mark seconded it. We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Takes care of that. Okay, we'll move down to, Powdered Meadow Road. Was there something said about this waving sidewalks on this site or not?
There was.
Okay.
And they requested a waiver, and they pointed out that it's an industrial area, which typically the commission waives the sidewalks, and across the street, the commission waived the sidewalk for the new storage
So they're letting us know.
facilities.
Okay.
Just to summarize what their statements were.
Very good. Well, what he said, they're waiving the sidewalks. Can I
Far be it
motion-
from me to
Can I get a motion to
weigh
approve?
anything.
Powdered Meadow Road,
With waiving the sidewalk?
with waiving the sidewalks. Isn't that a
Sure, I'll
chorus?
move to approve it.
Okay.
Thus,
Rod
with the
made a
sidewalk
motion.
waiver.
I have a motion, can I get
And
a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay, Paul seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
And I don't think there were
Okay.
any other issues other than that they were gonna.
Paving of the three
pave
parking
the
spots and
three
that
parking
driveway
No,
leading
well,
in. Yeah.
it goes without saying, that's in your
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah.
It goes without saying.
All these
but
things,
okay.
you make, everything is,
Yes.
Anything with
anything that comment, that was said from town engineer, or the land use.
Yeah,
gets-
Alan and I go with
Okay,
that.
good enough. You know, that's to go without saying. Okay, next one is two 275 Valley Service Road. Figure this one out. How are we gonna handle this? You know, we talked about just putting the canopy over the driving range, and I suppose a small area to park cars? Or, what do you think?
Are we,
Well,
my,
what do you
I'm gonna
think?
go to my question we had before. We're gonna be able to approve just this without approving the rest of the site? Because we don't wanna approve things that aren't currently.
We can't approve the whole thing. We don't.
The regulations state that required parking should have the bituminous pavement.
What is the intent of that, though? Is that for accessibility, or is that?
I think it should be, in the paragraph before it, it says that it should be a durable, all-weather surface. And the idea would be that if there was a problem on the property and there's a leakage, that there'd be some impervious nature to that would give us a shot at keeping it from going into the ground.
Okay.
But it's also to make sure that the durability of that paving is there. If millings last 6 years or so, you've got no teeth that says they need to go back and maintain that. At least the asphalt, you probably get 20 years, maybe 25, somewhere in there. I guess that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually here
Okay,
when that
so
was
you got that,
approved.
no, so what do you do now?
What do I do now? I mean, those are some good points.
Okay.
Can
So
can
we're
we-
gonna
can
work
we
on
do-
just
Can we do something as
By all
far
means.
as approve the canopy covers and make notation that the lot is not, the site plan is non-compliant, but still approve those? Can we do something to that effect? So we don't, it doesn't come back and bite us
We're
later?
gonna do a portion of it is what we're doing. Portion of the site plan so they can get going. Right, you're right.
Yeah.
And that'll be, but we gotta have a parking place.
But then what's,
That's what Andy is saying. You got to have a parking place.
how do we then go back and enforce
Hmm?
the paving?
Oh,
You
he's
wait
gonna-
for him
don't
to come
worry,
in
he's gonna
for
come
something
back.
else.
He's gonna come back for the rest of the site plan. That's what I'm saying. Let's not do it all. We don't have enough information, first off. But, whatever you want.
Can you really be that selective though and just cut out the stuff that's inconvenient? And, I mean, I'm just asking the question. I don't wanna be difficult, but.
What's that?
Yeah,
It's a good question.
I agree, Rob.
The commission tries to be
No,
consistent.
because.
Mm-hmm.
well,
It's the consistency thing that bothers me.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe they were,
Because how do you
We're not
apply
gonna
a
do
certain
anything.
set of standards to one and then a
Yeah,
different
no.
set of standards to the other? And that's
Right.
one of the things that I look at in every site plan I look at is
Yeah.
how has the commission acted for prior applications and how does that apply to what I'm looking at right now? You know, those are the considerations I make. There's gotta be consistency with the commission.
And I think there's also a desire to be somewhat commensurate, like the sidewalks. Is this a project that merits going in and paving spaces for 112 parking stalls?
Well,
He's not getting any more Ts.
so how many would he have to pave?
Well, you got 22 Ts.
What's that?
You've got 22 Ts that he's gonna cover.
Yeah. No, we're
Does he
talking
cover-
about, okay, so those many.
Does he make 22 spaces?
I-
And I think also the commission's been consistently progressive in
Yeah.
their view, in that they've always tried, you have collectively, to
Yeah.
get some progress.
Me personally, I prefer that they pave it.
Within some reasonable tolerance.
Yeah, shouldn't have to pave the whole parking lot,
Right.
but,
No, but-
provide at least the number of spaces that they have for the Ts. I mean, that's a
right,
reasonable
provided,
approach,
you
I
know,
think.
whatever they have for the Ts, they got to have.
Yep, there's 22 Ts.
Yeah, we got 22 Ts. You're gonna have some staff there or something.
Right.
So you gotta have a little bit of, a little bit of.
I mean, I think that's a fair compromise.
Yeah.
And if he bonds it, and in the infinite wisdom of the legislature in Connecticut, they'll have 5 years to accomplish this work, extendable by up to 5 more by the commission.
Okay.
And then after Mr. Agampor comes in and changes the regs by virtue of a reg amendment to not require that anymore.
Well, that's true. So that's
Perhaps,
exactly-
Mr. Cassidy can coattail in on that. I don't know.
Well, okay, let's do that.
I'll make a motion
Do
to
what?
approve it with
Never mind. Go ahead.
paving the adequate number of spots for the Ts.
How many?
adequate to handle
The Ts.
the Ts, yeah, and a couple of employee parking spaces.
So like 25?
24.
24,
2 dozen.
okay, 24. Yeah.
4 spaces.
You got that 24?
And regarding the sidewalks,
This is so interesting, because if Valley Service Road is gonna all of a sudden be developed, you could say, we're at the beginning, maybe we should put in sidewalks, but.
We did sidewalks up the other
What's going on
end.
out there? Is it all
We
industrial?
did
Like-
sidewalks up the other
now,
end.
Mr. Capasso is building a new building
Correct?
with new tenants and a new influx of revenue to his particular property,
Right.
plus the offer.
Yeah.
You're still
Plus, that's what he does for a living.
cross stock. You're still.
He doesn't test people to be public servants, and he doesn't sell golf balls.
But okay,
And, of course, the other consideration too is the scale of the project, and that's something that the commission has waived sidewalks in cases where, you know, oh, we're just going in and we're gonna pay 3 parking spots, or, you know, we're putting a you know, a 10 by 10 addition on the building, you know. The sidewalks end up costing 3 times what the development cost, you know, and the commission has made considerations
I
that way
think-
as well.
I think at this,
Well,
Chairman,
Andy, and, you know, we don't have to say, you know, we can waive the sidewalks on this portion, you know, and say this portion, and we can address the sidewalks when he comes back
If a
for the
larger
rest of the
development
site.
comes through, sure.
You know, I think we should leave the sidewalks open rather than to waive it for the entire thing, because you never know.
Right. Wait for this
Make that
project.
motion.
I want to hear what Mark had to say first.
I'm sorry?
You were gonna say something. right?
Well, pretty much, yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
I think when he comes back at a later date, you know, we don't wanna close ourselves out completely, but I think it would be unwarranted at this time. I mean, there is a lot of street frontage for his, if it was a,
He
you know,
does.
100-foot lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah,
of frontage.
it could be
Yeah.
open.
That's-
I mean, just leave it
think
open.
it's, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just leave it open.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to give them the sidewalks now,
Yeah, all right.
no later. Just approve, just get a motion to approve that
Yeah, I
the
got it.
covered, the cover for the 22 spots, plus enough area for 24 parking places. Is that good?
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Thanks, Ross.
okay, so we got a motion and we got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Rod seconded, Paul made the motion.
okay. Thank you.
And you
on
all
that one.
voted in
Okay,
favor.
we move on to, 410, 408 Sacker Point Road. This is an 11-acre site that is for parking cars, outside storage.
Kitty cars.
Just to,
And I don't think there's anything else with this one.
There's a sidewalk waiver too, and a recommendation, because there's very little street frontage, that it be waived.
right. And
Zero, yeah.
I just want to make a comment.
There's no frontage.
I'm very happy
Very,
to go
very
from,
little.
I'm very happy to go from this to this mess to what they currently have, because, you know, we're trying to beautify North Haven,
Oh, yeah.
so it's good. I'm in favor of it. I make a motion to
You
approve.
make a motion to approve?
Yes.
Okay, I got a motion, got a second.
Second.
Okay, Rod second, all in favor?
They're on together.
Yes, there's 2 of them.
Hold on a second, so
No,
the
no,
site
not
plan,
together.
Paul made a motion to approve,
Yep.
This is.
and
this-
Rod seconded?
Yes.
Just the
Christine,
site plan.
This
And
is,
this,
Site plan.
this is not what's depicted in your photo.
No.
this is
This is 408
P25-.
410.
Oh, 408,
05.
sorry.
Okay,
Okay, now we're gonna move on to the CAM.
okay.
Okay, so this one.
Okay, for the.
This one's okay.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Did we vote on it?
That's about it.
I don't think we voted, I think we just moved it.
We didn't vote on it.
No, no,
Now, let me ask you.
Sorry, I had the powder metals thing. So.
okay,
Why
we
don't you
got
tell
a
me?
motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman,
All
the
in favor?
question would be, what happens to the landscaping? Is this another situation? Is this a situation where they might mound up for the tree locations?
No, that was, you'll have to go talk to Mark about that one.
We're talking,
I'm not sure.
about the
I thought
kitty
you
car
said-
parking lot, correct?
He had a lot to say about everything, so. I don't know, what are you talking about there? Yeah, you're mounting up those,
There's a situation
Yeah.
with an environmental land use restriction on the property.
Yeah, so.
Excavation or a whole lot of penetration into that is not gonna be viewed favorably by DEEP, nor would it be good
I'm in
judgment.
favor of
I
the
thought
mount.
we were not
So if
gonna
they can
do
mound
anything.
this up and put the trees in, there was no objection to putting the trees in themselves, but, the suggestion was put them elsewhere. I'm not really certain that that complies, but if they could just mount something up and select a tree that would be,
Okay, you wanna mount it, but I was digging through. Okay,
Yeah.
mount it up.
Right.
All right, put that in the approval.
Is this approval for both the
No.
camp
No.
and the just
Okay.
Just the site
This-
plan at a time.
This is for
What,
the
first
site.
the site plan,
Within the parking lot?
I'm sorry?
yeah.
The tree location within the parking lot?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, we do have a motion, I'm confused now. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that, we're taking care of on that one. Now, we wanna move to the camp. We're gonna get a motion to approve the camp for the same site.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion, can I get a second? A
Second.
Second, okay, Carrie second, all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much on that one. We move along to, 48 Giles Avenue. This is the buses, I think we got this pretty well worked out as to, before we got closed up on this, so, I don't know what we had to tie in. Do we have to tie just your comments in with this, Alan, or? And Andy?
I had three notes on here in particular, to pave the required parking only, to analyze and adjust the light at Grasso and Saca Point Road, and to deal with, or check and make any necessary accommodation,
Signage.
regarding the corner of Locust and Giles.
And also signage.
What's the signage, yeah? You get the
And they're
signage,
gonna
Christie?
run drainage
Signage?
swells along the
Yes,
perimeter.
thank you.
Vegetated.
On both
Yes,
sides.
vegetated.
Vegetated, yes, vegetated.
Along with finishing the work that wasn't done with the last
Yeah.
approval.
And also, I guess the idea was to require the route
The
out
route,
to
of course.
Saga Point Road
Yeah,
to
we're gonna put
follow.
the signage, and of course, the route that goes with your comments, Alan, and Andy. So that was in your comments, Andy.
Yes.
So it's there.
And hang on, one more thing. I remember there was a mention of grading kind of going downward, so it goes toward those swales at the very outside, right?
Just for the parking
Just
areas
for the
themselves.
parking areas,
Yes, the
right.
paved parking areas.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
actually, one side already has that, the other side
And,
is
you-
kind of straight into the, so they would just slant the
And
contours a
the
little bit.
maintenance of the milling.
Maintenance of the millings, right.
And the trees within the park, within the,
I thought we were going
Paved
with the
parking.
pea stone with that, huh?
No.
Within that area that would be partial.
Yeah.
Jeez, I got enough trouble. Anything else, Commissioner? Or we got it all?
And the other requirements as stipulated or outlined.
Andy, you have anything else to add on to this, or we good?
I think that's it.
Huh? We
I think
good?
that's it, yeah.
Okay, well then, we have made the motion. Can I get a motion to approve this as we stated?
I so move.
Okay, Rod makes the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you very much. Okay, next one is 117 Washington Avenue, which is the 7 Brews. I guess the way he presented it would
With
with
the increase, yeah.
Andy's recommendations making some corrections on
Yep,
the.
circulation of the overall lot, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other things we're gonna need to add on to that one, or not, Andy? No?
I didn't see any real
I thought-
I'm gonna make a motion to approve that.
Well, I would-
Mr. Chairman. No,
Oh,
leave it
about the
safe.
coffee?
Yes, the coffee.
Weren't they supposed to bring samples?
Okay.
I'll make
I
a
was just
motion,
gonna
Mr.
say,
Chairman.
I was just
Carrie,
gonna
I'm
say,
sorry.
could we swap something more native instead of Lariabe within that little island? I know it's probably not gonna go anywhere, but it's a pet peeve of mine.
What was proposed?
Lariabe.
I'm sorry.
It's a little grass lily turf plant.
No.
Well, the island they're creating, I guess, it needs a deciduous tree, so that's in the notes. Do you have something in particular, that's,
As a substitution?
Yes.
Maybe
or-
not at 10:20 at night. Just
okay,
something
we're
that,
looking for a deciduous tree. Can they match what's existing in the
as far as the
shopping center?
trees go, you mean?
Yes.
Pardon?
Oh, I was talking about the little grass, but,
Well, fair enough, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what grass would you like?
yeah, I would rather have a native in there than the,
Okay,
than what.
so-
Well, let's just indicate
that-
that, use native grass. Okay.
I don't know what that means, but go ahead.
They will.
They'll figure it
They'll
out.
know.
Okay. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
What grows in your yard? That's native.
It's good,
I have a
Carrie.
lot of
See?
neighbors in my yard. Whole lot.
All right, so
But
with
you're
that-
asking about trees?
Good. We have
Or
everything
did-
together there now?
Yeah, I don't recall what they were proposing offhand, but if they generally match what's there in the rest of the center,
Yeah.
you're okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
good, we're good.
Well,
You need a
okay.
second.
Well, we have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Rod, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we-
Paul did.
Yeah. Need a chance to catch up, ladies? You ready to go? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve 290 Washington Avenue, which is the fairground, to move, whatever they wanna move?
So moved.
I don't know, has Gene waited long enough for this?
Second.
Can a
You wanna-
motion?
We don't
Paul
have a
makes the motion.
Make a motion.
I thought Carrie did, but.
Oh,
I
Carrie
seconded
did,
it.
Carrie
Carrie
did.
did?
Carrie, you get the
Carrie-
motion.
Gary made the motion. Can I have a second?
I'll take the second.
Okay.
We'll vote.
You need a second. All in favor? No.
No,
No,
Mark.
Mark.
Mark, Carrie and Mark. Carrie won. Mark two.
You have to do better than this.
It's not your fault.
Okay, you got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hi, Gene.
Okay. Now, can I get a motion to approve 60 Dodge Avenue as it was presented?
I'll make a motion to approve 60 Dodge Avenue.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that takes care of that. Then we're going along to 193 State Street.
Number 4.
Number 4, they'd like to put in a nail salon there. Can I get a motion to approve? A motion to approve,
I'll
Rod.
approve. Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
okay, Rod, Mark and Rod. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve 193 State Street, first floor? This is a flower shop. Get a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Okay, I got a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
I'll second his first.
Okay, all in favor?
Now raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay, good now.
I am, yes.
262 State Street is the daycare center. Can I get a motion to approve as it was presented?
So moved.
Okay. Carrie?
Second.
And I got a second with Rod. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, is there anything, can I get a motion to approve the March 3rd, 2025 minutes?
Anyone but Carrie.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay, can I get a
March
second?
25
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anything else, gentlemen? Motion to adjourn.
Wait, does Carrie need to abstain, or you want to vote?
I did not vote
Okay.
because I was not here.
That's a 4-0
That's
approval.
all. Okay, you got that? Okay, motion to adjourn.
I can
do that. I think we want to
Mark,
stay.
I'll
away
do
from-
that.
Mark Parisi with a motion.
Paul second.
I'll
All
second,
second.
yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.